hey, if you're seeing this or listening to this, I'd just like to say thank you so much for clicking on this title. I hope you enjoy the title very much. Um, this was from my podcast back in the day, about a year and a half ago, 2022, um, where I started a podcast where I wanted to talk about movies, TV shows, books, comics, anime, manga, just anything really that had to do with entertainment and writing. I'm a writer. I have a lot of writer friends, and I just like to have these in-depth conversations about what we're interested in, what we're learning about our process through writing and watching and enjoying other people's writing in various forms. So it was initially called Brain Velcro, but I eventually realized that that Velcro is a copyrighted, trademarked term, a little bit like how Kleenex or I don't know, just like those words that we don't just like use the normal nomenclature for, we just tend to use the brand name for. So if I were ever to make merch or this podcast for some reason became very successful, I would be in a lot of copyright and financial trouble. So I rebranded in 2023, and it was all right for a while, but I didn't really make that much content. I was very busy with work, and I don't do this for a living, so this was kind of just a side hobby, and it just kind of fell off. So what you're about to listen to today, in just a couple minutes, is one of my first episodes of the Brain Velcro podcast, where me and my friend Sean Arnold, who is also a writer, talk about the show Severance that he got me into. And we'll hopefully be getting a second season pretty soon. And just know that or a few of these episodes that we'll be releasing under this currently untitled podcast series, some of them will be reposted from my previous days with Brain Velcro and Substack. So one more time, thank you so much for watching and or listening to this episode, and I hope you enjoy it.
Welcome to Brain Velcro.
I don't know. I don't have any like fancy catchphrases or anything. I think it's just pretty much you and my mom who's like actually subscribed through Substack.
Yeah.
But I know people have downloaded it and listened to it. So
okay.
It's still growing. So we'll just say, hey, this is Brain Velcro, and it's SL Funk with, is it Bjornson or Bjornson?
It's Bjornson, or you can just call me by my my Christian name, Sean.
Sean. All right.
Well, or Bigfoot Bjornson.
Bigfoot Bjornson. Yeah. I just because that's your online handle, right? Yeah.
Right.
So that people can find you if they hear this. And they'll probably find you easier than they'll find me. But just in case. Cool. All right. So we're talking about Severance, and I guess I'll just go and say this right away. It's on Apple TV. It is written by Dan Erickson, not the cinematographer, but the writer, Dan Erickson. Yeah. And it is directed by Ben Stiller. And we are going to be talking about that show, and we do not own that show or any of the IP within, but
wait, we don't? Awesome. I thought you did.
No, this is a podcast. We don't own anything.
Oh no.
I don't know. I'm covering the bases, you know.
Wait, I thought you said Dan Erickson was a pseudonym for your own name. No.
Yeah, sure. So, okay. Honestly, you should go first. Tell us how you got me into Severance.
Okay, so I know Funk from Twitch. We both stream on Twitch. are both very cool in the most popular category on Twitch, the writer category.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's it's Ninja, then some other popular streamer, and then literally everybody else is writers on Twitch.
Yeah, pretty much.
Occasionally a video game.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. Perfect.
Yeah. I had been watching Severance, and by the way, we can spoil, right? Are we going to spoil?
Oh yeah, for sure. We can spoil.
Yeah.
I would maybe go on to say that quickly before we do spoil anything, if for some stupid reason you're listening to this and not watching Severance, go watch it. We highly recommend. And we are also going to be talking about a short story that Apple put out. That's called the Lexington Letters, I believe. That's what it's called. Yes. It's free on Apple Books. That's kind of like a companion piece with the show, because pretty much we're going to be talking about all of the above. So if you do not want to be spoiled, and this is just out there, you could get spoiled pretty much anywhere you go on the internet now searching Severance. So please be careful. Please just do yourself a favor and go watch it. It'll be a good use of your time.
Yeah. Spoiler alert, we both really liked the show.
It's really, it was funny because I was I finished it with you the other night, last night, and this morning rather. And
a little reference for everybody. We watched this show together.
Yes. No, he had watched it all before me, though, to be fair. You had been up to about the second to last episode when I started. I binged it. You watched it with me. And then you watched the final episode right before I watched it.
Yeah. I couldn't help it. I was sorry. I'm so sorry. But
no, don't apologize. If anything, you can fact check me on anything because I've only seen it once. And when you kind of watch it more than once, you get other like details that maybe you missed the first time. So feel free to just be like, well, actually, you can totally use that verbiage with
I've never done that before in my life.
Well, actually,
should we explain what the show is about just for people
possibly? I think that's a good idea. Why don't you try that?
Okay, so Severance is about a corporation. It is about people who work for a corporation called Lumen, and Lumen has developed a procedure called Severance. It's an experimental brain surgery where they insert a chip in your head, and when you enter work, when you enter your job at Lumen, you lose all the memories of who you were before you enter your job, and when you leave Lumen, you lose all the memories of who you had been, what you had done at work. And needless to say, there's some flaws in this idea.
Yes. And how those flaws are then, how they're exhibited.
Yeah.
And also the reasons behind it. So it's funny because the way that the show kind of presents itself to the layman is kind of almost the way I kind of felt about it anyway, is kind of like how Lumen would advertise Severance to, say, a potential employee, like, hey, are you tired of your personal life blending into your work life and your work life coming home with you at night? You just want to relax. Welcome to Severance. You can, in this painless, quick, easy procedure, we can completely separate these halves of your memory. So when you're at work, you don't think about your personal life. And when you go home, you have no memory of what you did at work. And that's like the selling point. And we're like, oh, as a show concept, that's pretty cool. Let's see what they do with it. And it gets so much deeper than that.
Oh my God, that's whatever. So what was so fascinating to me is like, there's this idea in the show. It stars Adam Scott from
Adam Scott from Parks and Rec.
Yeah, it plays the main character, Mark Scout / Mark S.
Yes. When you become, if I'll just put this in quickly, when you become severed, or when you have gone through the severance procedure, you then almost become two different characters. When you are at work at Lumen, you are then referred to either a nickname or just your first name and an initial. So Mark Scout on the outside then becomes Mark S on the inside, to kind of help. It's weird to kind of help keep some like distance between the personas, and also to keep some anonymity between the workers within Lumen, which just digs, like you said, like Severance couldn't possibly have anything shady going on.
No.
Why would someone who's not going to remember the outside need to have some anonymity or anything?
Or, the fact that you don't remember anything that happens at work certainly doesn't mean they're going to abuse you in any way whatsoever.
Right.
You really see that in the character Hallie R.
Yes, Hallie R. specifically.
That like how different these two people are. Hallie R. is the newest hire in in the severed floor, because there's only a specific floor where this happens.
The basement floor. So
which goes on, seemingly goes on forever.
Yes. I'll admit I did. I like how we're just kind of like getting their toes wet, even though we said go watch the show. So
I think at some point,
just say it now. Final spoiler warning. We're probably going to talk about major plot points and characters and all that now. So if you haven't gone and watched it yet, turn this off, come back later after you've watched all of it, and preferably read the book as well.
Yeah, because there is a major twist in the book. It gives you, the book has a very important piece of information in it.
Yes, and it's kind of like fun how we've just been kind of going down the rabbit hole a little bit, but we don't want to have the majority of this conversation be an introduction to Severance. We're talking about characters, arcs, plot,
waffle parties,
theories about season 2, which has just recently been announced. So yes, please do yourself a service and go watch Severance now. So that's your final spoiler warning.
Freaking Hallie was an Egan. Holy shit.
I know, right? And that makes all the bullshit with her character makes so much more sense. I shouldn't swear, but I won't.
Do we not swear in this? I'm sorry.
I told myself on the way back from work I wasn't going to swear, but I don't care anymore. Say whatever you want. Which made her character and the dichotomy between her outie and her innie so much. I love reveals like that. I love reveals and like, now I get it. Now I know why she's like this.
But what's so interesting, it makes perfect sense, because the family that owns Lumen is the Egans, and the people inside the severed floor, who they call innies, practically worship the Egans as like a god figure, and so what's so fascinating about Hallie is once Hellie's severed and gets there, Hallie does not want to be there. Like Hellie's the only one in the whole thing that goes like, this is fucked up. Because like, what's so interesting about this is what this does is it means that the innies, the people who work, the versions of them that work there, are essentially have no memory or thoughts of the outside world but work, They're their own people, but they're the only own people in that they know nothing and are like, imagine, if you will, a sort of if you have no memory of anything in your life and the only knowledge you have is working at all periods, you don't even feel sleep,
right? You're constantly in a state of work and nothing else.
Exactly. And one thing I found so fascinating about Hallie is that it makes sense, because like Helena Egan, that's a kind of a twist, is would be like a driven sort of person,
Yeah.
but that drive makes her a terrible Severance employee.
Exactly. Yeah. I feel like I'll go back in my history and pull in links for the videos that I got some of this information from, only because I didn't come up with this. And I would maybe like to link the original source. But someone made the good point that Helena Egan also probably grew up in a what's the word I'm looking for? Rich. She grew up privileged. So being put all of a sudden in a very different environment, putting her in as the worker, she doesn't, not to say like she's super, super privileged to the point where she can't understand it, but she is caught in this work hell. No wonder she lashes out the way she does.
Oh yeah. And Helly is probably a person who's used to, like, one of the things that being rich really does provide you is that you kind of can like live like a pure individualistic lifestyle,
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't necessarily make you evil, although it often seems to, but it just means that, like there's no real constraints with you.
Yeah. Yeah. She's always the boss. You're never answering to anyone else. And now she's put in this really not just constricted, but really foreign kind of environment.
Exactly.
And told to just do this one thing by all these other people who are acting as her superiors, who literally can control her whole life. Because go ahead.
And not to give anything away, but psychologically torture her.
Yeah. No, for real. Yeah. It's not all self-inflicted.
No.
Absolutely not. Another thing about her character that I think is also really interesting is just realizing now who she is really on the outside, and how this whole time Severance has been kind of like she has grown up with Severance. Because something I had to wrap my head around a bit is because the very first scene of the season is Helly waking up in the conference room and getting, I called it the disorientation. I thought that was so cool. But getting her orientation as a severed employee at Lumen. We always see it through her perspective. Well, we are introduced it through her perspective. And then we kind of just follow her throughout the whole thing, even though she may not really count as like the main character. I would think that's Mark.
I would argue that it could be main, but it's I'll say this. One thing I really like about the show is that each of the characters have a pretty good arc, you know?
Yeah.
And it all plays well within each other. Because when we get to Irving,
I have a lot to say about Irving, actually.
Irving's great.
He's awesome.
Yeah. Irving maybe has one of the best. Anyway, when we get to Irving, we'll get to Irving because
Well, the point is, I think what I was going to say was we follow her and we're so immersed in kind of the process of becoming a severed employee. That we don't know at the point, but now we do once we've seen the whole show, is we know that she has grown up with Severance, and Lumen, not to mention the cult of Kier, has been around for much longer than Severance has.
Wonderful Kier, chosen one Kier.
Oh my gosh, that scared me. Anyway, oh no, Severance is only a recent part of this whole thing that's apparently been around for generations at this point. The cult, at least.
Well, it's funny because in real life, business, like real rich industrialists are often accused of creating a cult of personality around themselves. But the Egans have literally created a religion.
This is taking the cult of work and taking it to the most literal place you could take it.
A character is killed in the show, and the Cobel, the boss lady, head lady, first thing she says about the death is, He is sitting by the side of Kier.
Yeah. They've
Yeah.
taken it to a whole different level. And there's a scene in the last episode when, spoiler alert, everybody has gone back out into the outside world, and
Yeah.
one of the employees, Dylan, who's, I say,
Great.
a fan favorite, he's awesome.
Oh,
He
yeah.
is able to turn on this protocol that allows the outies to experience severance while not on the severed floor. So they're on the outside, but they become their innies for a portion of the episode.
As long as he can hold those switches.
As long as he can hold a switch down on either side of the room, which builds for tension. But Helena was at this gala honoring her family and Kier and her father and the company in general, and her accomplishments of being a severed employee. So it almost kind of comes full circle with Helly of experiencing the whole thing.
Do we want to talk about the major action that Helly does?
Yes, we can.
What's a trigger warning, right? Should we?
Yes. Possibly, yeah. Though if you've seen it, you probably know what we're going to talk about. But we will discuss things that Helly has done throughout the show, which involve a trigger warning.
Let's just say suicide and
attempts on I'm just taking a really long time to get to my point. The point is, her father is there, who we assume is the head of the company. This whole time, I feel that she has been slowly being groomed to take over the company. And since Severance is the newest facet of the cult and the company, she is doing her best. Helena Egan is doing her best to prove that she is worthy to her father to take on this massive
yes, definitely
thing. And when she's
realized something.
When she's in the bathroom, we learned that even way back when she was a child, they were working on a Severance chip prototype. So this is either her father's idea or possibly Kier, who I'm assuming is the grandfather. I believe
it's established that Kier Egan, who founded Lumen, was lived in the 1800s.
Okay, yes, then it's much longer than I would have assumed. Yes. You thought of something, go ahead. I just took a long time to say what I meant.
No. Just to add to this, I was thinking, okay, so this is I'm about to do a hack metaphor thing here, but I'm kind of curious. So it didn't occur to me to think like this. So, okay. The CEO of Lumen Industries is worshipped as a god. Pretty much to the severed floor employees. So Helly or Helena is the child of God who goes in to disrupt the orthodox practice.
Oh my gosh. And to be an example.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. You're right.
Yeah. Now here's the thought. I have two kind of thoughts about this.
Yeah.
One, it's brief discussion of Christianity here.
Yes.
And a comic I just read actually a few days ago. But after Jesus is crucified, but before Easter, it's established. It's said that Jesus went to hell to experience all the sins of mankind. So Helly goes to hell.
Yeah.
Which is the severed floor, which is established as down in the basement.
Yeah.
To experience all the sins that her family has caused.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. No, that's really cool. And then yeah, comes back and she's celebrated at this
Exactly.
gala as, look at what she did. She
Yeah.
became Helly R and did all this for the company to prove that severance is a good idea, and
Yeah.
it's foolproof, and or not foolproof, but like it's safe and she can vouch for it and stuff like that.
But
But
but there's another possible interpretation.
yeah.
And follow me on this.
Okay.
Helly could be a different character.
Hmm.
Now, you could also argue what happens, and maybe in season 2, is we find out that Helena may not be the groomed one, but the fuck up, and this was her way of making up for that. So what if instead she was, let's say, cast out of heaven, out of Lumen, into hell, and she uses it to just, and while there she uses it to try and circumvent the plans of their creator.
Yeah.
She could also be, dun dun dun, Satan.
It's true. I did not think of it that way, and that's the parallels, as they say. What was I gonna say? Oh, okay. Do you want to discuss the end of, like,
how about we go through the characters first?
Yeah, let's go through the characters.
Mark, we haven't talked about one of the more prominent ones, Mark.
Yeah, it's funny. I once had someone explain this to me. I don't remember the source, but it was kind of like, oh no, they use the example of Sherlock Holmes as there are main characters and then there are protagonists. And to me, Mark S feels like a main character, as in we kind of see him, but he's not as protagonisty as maybe Irving or maybe Helly, for example, who does a lot more to kind of try to push the plot forward.
Was that person me, by the way? Because I say that a lot and use that example on Twitch.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, because that's if you guys have never seen me on Twitch, and you really should, anytime writing comes out, that's a topic of conversation I often have, and that's the example I always use, is Sherlock Holmes and Watson.
Yeah, maybe do you remember where you heard that from? Maybe it was the same thing I saw.
Well, I probably got it from TV Tropes.
Yeah, maybe.
Because TV Tropes has the concept of the supporting protagonist.
Yeah.
And they use Sherlock Holmes. So you maybe read it from the internationally popular website TV Tropes, and
possibly, yeah.
Instead of my internationally unpopular Twitch stream. No.
No, you're probably right.
Yeah. Mark. Okay, so Mark S, or Mark Scout, as played by Adam Scott, by the way, kills it in this role.
Yes. Oh my gosh, he was like unrecognizable. If you watch Parks and Rec and then you watch this, it's like it didn't even occur to me at first who he was.
So Mark is I would argue is like our viewpoint character, because we see a lot of stuff through his eyes. Mark is at the start of the show is promoted to the head of macro data refinement, which is the department he works for in the Severance floor. And Mark Scout, should we use different? How about we call his Audi Scout and his NE Mark S? Mark.
Sure. Yeah. When referring to Mark on the severed floor, he is Mark. Otherwise, he is Scout.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Got it.
Yeah. It just makes it a little bit easier.
Yeah.
Because Mark S and Mark is, because it keeps sounding like I'm saying Marcus.
Yeah. Well, effectively, Adam Scott is playing two different characters.
Yeah.
With this, so we might as well refer to them as two different characters.
We referred to it. We were talking about it last night, and we called it a Superman performance, because it's a subtle, different performance whenever he's Mark as opposed to being Scout.
Yeah, like his voice, like the pitch of his voice changes,
and the manner, like when he's Mark, he stands like straight up, straight up and is a little bit calmer, whereas when he's Scout, he's shabbier and sadder. So what happened at Scout, it does sound a little bit like we're talking about To Kill a Mockingbird, but
no, but not that Scout.
Lost his wife.
His wife?
My wife.
My wife.
There we go. That's the reference I was trying.
Mrs. Scout It has been lost to a car accident.
Gemma,
yes.
Yeah. And because of the sadness of that, he decides to join Severance, so he doesn't have to think about that for 8 hours a day.
Mm-hmm.
And initially, he's a loyal, he's one of those guys that, it's not that he necessarily loves the company, but, he doesn't really hate it either.
Yeah.
The Mark version of him is, fine with working there. And the Scout version is just happy he doesn't have to think about his wife for a little bit of time.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't you know, things transpire that make him doubt his desire to stay at the position. The big one is he meets somebody from the inside, his former boss and best friend,
Petey. Petey is the plot catalyst for Scout and Mark.
Yeah. So Petey is fired, and Mark is promoted to head of macro data refinement. But the big thing about Petey is Petey has been reintegrated.
Now explain, what is reintegration?
Well,
it is.
Well, Funk, you should know that the board does not acknowledge that reintegration is possible.
It is possible, and I'm gonna prove it.
Yes. We have to talk. I have a feeling like an hour of this discussion is going to be taken up by the discussion of their boss, Coble.
It's true.
Yeah. Because one, Patricia Arquette plays her, and she plays her really well. And two, she's maybe one of the most bizarre characters in the whole show.
Awesome.
She's so great.
So good.
Like,
stole the show.
Yeah, like every line reading from her is absolutely hilarious.
And she's up against, by the way, Christopher Walken is in this.
Christopher Walken, Jonathan
and he
Turville.
does, of course, so great.
Oh my God, Christopher Walken is so good. And it's the center of like one of the most charming romances I've seen in a long time.
I know. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
But we'll wait till we get to Irving.
Yeah. Irving's got so much.
Irving's got a lot. But isn't that what's so great about the show, is that everybody has like a lot going on?
Yeah. Yeah. And they just, like you said, they weave it together.
Yeah.
So perfect. Well, I think it's, unless you're going to say something, I think it's because everything is so character driven. Like when you think about it, it's not like this thing happens to Mark to get him from like a stagnant place to an active place. It's because of another character, Petey, that gets him moving. So it's not just like he has this situation that has to get him moving. It's no, here's another character, because he is no longer there and this space needs to be filled. Now that moves Mark in a plot forward movement through his own character development, but moving back to Petey, giving Petey his own character arc as a character.
Trey Parker of South Park would call this but therefore writing.
Yes. Because
every plot point can be will be either a but or the next line will either be a but or a therefore.
Yeah.
Instead of and then writing. So where the plot is and then this happens and this happens.
Yes. And another example of that is the very beginning when Mark is then being trained in his new promoted position as head of the department to get Helly in oriented into her position, which also disoriented into her position as a severed employee, which also kickstarts not just the entire plot, but or the entire story, but also Helly's Helly R's, not Helena, Helly R's
motivation.
story. Yeah. And everything's
Yeah.
connected to another character. It's not just like, and then this happened and then that happened.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all tied to the other characters.
And arguably, should we should we talk about a little bit the trigger warning I said up front?
Yes.
So we find out quickly that Helly essentially just does not want to be there. She doesn't like it. It scares her. It makes her nervous. She doesn't like being under anybody's thumb. She tries to quit immediately, even though there was a melon party.
Yes, even the melon party
didn't convince her to stay. And to quit, they have to make a resignation request, and it has to be approved by their Audi.
Yes, only the Audi can approve resignation for an innie.
Yeah, and hers doesn't. Being
Helena Eager, obviously not.
Yeah, will not ever want to leave. So that, therefore, she grabs a paper cutter, storms into her boss's, Mrs. Coble's office, and threatens to cut off her fingers.
Mm-hmm.
And if she can't get a message out to her Audi. And then that's the moment where we meet Helly now. Because she records a video, and then Helena records a video back.
Yeah, yes, go ahead.
A brief, I guess, plot explanation is reason why they can't just send messages to each other is because they have symbolic scanners that will scan for any language.
Yes, so you can't smuggle information out.
Yeah.
Leaving the severed floor.
Yeah. The Lexington letter proves that there is in fact a way to do it.
There are ways. It's just not evident in the show.
Yeah. But what was I saying? We meet Helena, and Helena says frankly to Helly, and this is a great line. She says, "Helly R, you must understand, you are not a person and I am, so you will stay there." Yes.
Which just develops Helena's character more. As it gives you a hint as to where her stand is on Severance and who else would be for Severance as a procedure more than the head of the company who has to keep it going.
Exactly. And Helly, hearing this, and again, trigger warning, hangs herself.
She does.
Yeah.
But she is unsuccessful in unaliving herself.
Yeah. But two things happen there. One, she hangs herself in the elevator on the way up. So as she goes up, the trick with Severance is you enter a certain floor, and that turns on Severance. But when you ride the elevator up, it turns it off.
Yes.
So as she rides up, her Audi takes control, and she experiences being hanged, and then she passes out, rides back down, and Mark is the one that finds her and saves her. And arguably, and when she's brought back the next day, because of course Helena would refuse to help her, that's you can kind of tell that's when Mark's decision to rebel against the company happens, because he's like, this is ridiculous. You can't keep her down here. Like, she will try, and she just doesn't want to be here,
Yeah.
And that's arguably when Mark's whole begins to rebel against Severance.
Yeah. It's almost kind of like point this out for me if I'm wrong. It's almost kind of like a rule of three.
Yeah.
When it comes to Mark. Or you're right. He's getting these signs throughout the show that he's not in a place that's good, and even if he is complacent about it, he shouldn't be. But the rule of three is basically you have a 2 strikes, and then the third one you're out. Usually by the third attempt, you will either go through with the action that is supposed to happen. So if you can think of Petey as the first strike, not like Mark S really had a lot of
Yeah.
push from Petey other than, we
Yeah.
miss him a lot, and we're
Yeah.
gonna switch out the photos to
But
have the new people in or
yeah.
whatever. But then dealing with Helly is almost like strike two.
Yeah. And then the refusal of the company to just let Helly go
Yeah.
is the end of that.
And then that has to push Mark into a
And
forward movement of really
yeah.
trying to question what's going on, not only while he's outside, but also while he is inside.
Yeah. Yes. And so from that on, Mark is pretty much on Helly's side from that point on.
Yeah.
And there's some romantic tension there, which
Yes.
is going to be weird in a moment when we reveal kind of a big twist about Mark.
Yes.
Should we reveal? We should
Yeah,
talk about
why not? We already said spoiler
let's,
warning.
But we should talk about that character first for a little bit before
It's
we
true. It's
reveal
true.
the twist.
Yes.
So you know what? Let's talk about this. So when Mark and Helly get back, when Helly gets back, she's put under the care, the watchful eye of Miss Casey.
Yes.
Now, Miss Casey is a character we haven't talked about yet, just because she's kind of a minor character. She's the wellness coordinator.
Yes.
And her job mostly is when like the innies kind of freak out, is to calm them down and tell them
everything's okay. Yeah.
Everything's okay, and some facts about their outside lives,
which may or may not be true.
Although
about
from what we've seen, they are true, just not in the way you assume they are.
Yes.
So there's a pretty great little scene where Helly and Mark escape. Helly and Mark escape from Miss Casey's watchful eye and go on a fun walk around of the building, and find a strange new department where they're raising baby goats.
Yeah, it's really bizarre.
Yeah. Raising baby goats. And one of the should we talk about why we only see a few people at a time, or should we save that for Irving's whole deal, because that Irving's part really deals with
Irving's delves more into why you don't visit other departments as much. But we'll just say, because now Mark, by this point, Mark and Helly are both in sort of a, okay, we really want to see what's going on at this company. We're going to break some rules.
Yeah, and
voluntarily.
They're not allowed to really see other departments, and there's a very good reason.
Yes.
For that. There's a good internal reason for that. Anyways, so they break that, they get back, and oh my god, we haven't talked about the break room yet.
I was thinking talked about the break room. I just like that, at least in this. We'll talk about the break room, also the testing floor, which is a little further down the line, but it connects back to Miss Casey. And Irving, actually, is kind of a cute little segue. But how a lot of this like corporate verbiage or terms that of course everybody has a conference room, everybody has the board, everybody has the break room or the kitchenette. Like there's common corporate nomenclature around all this, but it means something very different
and
in the end, and usually horrifying.
The
break room is not for relaxing, talking to people.
It's not inappropriately named.
It's not inappropriately named. It's more literal. Again, we're taking things very, very literal.
It's the place where they break you.
Yeah. Especially if they've seen you roaming the halls or attempting to communicate with your Audi, or possibly trying to unalive oneself in the elevator.
Exactly. So the first thing Helly does is try and communicate with her Audi by writing a note, and that immediately gets caught by the symbolic sensors.
Yes.
But Mark, being who, by the way, if we haven't made this clear, Mark is a pretty nice guy.
No, there's nothing wrong with Mark.
He's
awesome, but He's
he
just
take
yeah.
he's Jim. He's somebody. I heard somebody describe this as like Stanley Kubrick's The Office, and that's a pretty good take.
I mean, I won't deny it.
Yeah. So he takes the blame for that, and he gets sent to the break room. And the break room is a small place where they sit you down in an uncomfortable chair, and we haven't talked about this guy yet, but this is, by the way, one of the breakout performances of the year. Mr. Milchek.
Mr. Milchek
makes you read a statement over and over again. I was trying to find the exact wording for that statement, but I can't seem to find it.
Oh,
let's see.
Yeah, basically they just make you, it's kind of like back in like old school days in school when the naughty kid would have to write I will not, and then whatever their crime was over and over on the chalkboard, except you're pledging your loyalty to Lumen over and over and over until it breaks you. The speech here's what I remember. Please forgive me the sins I have caused, for they are my fault and my fault only, and their stain shall live within me forever. Oh my God. By the way, when Helly repeated that in the mirror right before she went on stage, oh my God. That was terrifying. I loved that moment. That was amazing. Because of course she'd know that by heart. Oh my gosh. And they make you repeat that speech until you actually mean it. And so you spend days without food or water, just sitting in that chair, repeating it over and over and over and over and over again. Yeah. Not to mention, Milchek sits there the entire time and then has to decide whether you mean it or not. I'm sorry, I don't think you mean it. And he's recording them. Yeah. At least I believe that's what he was doing. Yes, he's doing it. So they have this all recorded for posterity, most likely, or for records, to make it seem like all their employees are well managed and it's a terrifying thing. So I think it was established that Helly had to do it for like 4 days straight. Yeah, something, or she said it over, she said the exact number of, it was either hours she was there or times. It's like 2,000 times or something. Yeah. Yeah. So, do we want to talk about the big twist, or do we want to talk about Milchek? Can we? Let's cover some more characters, then we'll talk about the twist. Big twist number one. Yeah. Since we brought him up, let's talk Milchek. Should we talk Milchek? Yeah. This can kind of bleed into. I guess I feel so like, because it'll also lead into theories for season 2 and what's really going on. Milchek, the things that I really like about his character is I had to keep asking you and reminding myself he is not severed. He is an unsevered employee working on the severed floor with some other few unsevered employees, namely the security, Mr. Grainer, and Coble, who is the supervisor or boss of the severed floor. Harmony Coble. Yeah. Milchek is essentially, he seems to be the I think he would be the assistant manager, but he's the one who's in charge of keeping them all in line. Yeah, he's like the internal security almost. Yeah. And he's the police, so Milchek, I was talking to you about this last night. To me, it reminds me of like the toxic positivity of of corporate speak, Yeah, he's very kind of happy, like, oh yeah, you're doing so good. We're so glad you're here. You're so important, and but it's all very fake. And you could even argue that he's kind of like the equivalent of like the HR manager in a way, where it's like he wants to sound like your friend, but he's so on the company side. Yeah. And
he is involved in one of the best scenes in the whole show,
Mhm.
the musical dance experience.
The MDR
Yeah,
or the MDE, not
yeah,
MDR. That's microdata refinement.
yeah,
MDE, yes.
yeah, is the music dance experience, which Dylan causes to be over. So he's
It's true. It's true.
yeah. To be fair, the dance party the dancing mood is over. But he's essentially he's smiling menace,
Yeah. Yeah.
He's a character. He has a smiling face, but he just he is like the pure will of the company. He's like the perfect company person,
Yeah. He's almost more sold out for the company than any of the other higher
Yeah,
ups that you
yeah,
see.
or any of the yeah. Yeah, and he's also the type of person who he's also responsible seemingly for organizing all the parties
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
happen.
It's kind of funny. We're talking about, it's so hard to talk about just one character because they
Yeah, it is.
all blend together so
Yeah,
much. Not just their actions all blend together. Anyway,
yeah,
just how kind of like there's almost this hierarchy of obviously Koble at the top. Milchick was kind of like the supervisor,
yeah, or the
assistant manager.
Yeah,
And then you have he is also a part of the severance procedure. At least in Helly's case, he helped perform
yeah,
the procedure, and
yeah,
he's also the main one who sits in the break room while
yeah,
you are then broken. But
yeah,
he is not a part of the wellness checks, which I kind of see almost as the opposite of the break
yeah,
room. Seemingly from the outside is the opposite
yeah,
of the break room,
yeah.
where you're not
Well,
going through a unpleasant experience. You're like, oh, something's wrong, we
yeah,
gotta take care of you, but you're
yeah.
still kind of brainwashed in a way.
Oh yeah. Well,
um
it's to use a classic term. It's the wellness procedure is the bread and circuses.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, he's also kind of part of the bread and circuses, I guess, because he's the one who always throws the parties.
Yeah, he provides, like, he's kind of like this middle ground where he provides the, like, yeah, oh, great job, you met quota, here's your melon. And
He's almost like he's almost like the severed employees like on the floor are always in a weird way compared to children. Like they do childish activities.
yeah.
You know, like there's a scene where there's a part where there's apparently an egg drop room. Like they get little toys if they do really well.
Yeah.
And so in a weird way, he's kind of like an evil kindergarten teacher or like a real
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. He's the evil babysitter, the
Yeah,
evil.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so his goal is to maintain like perfect happiness amongst everybody. And
Yeah.
if they don't maintain perfect happiness, well, then that's their fault. And what have they done to destroy this perfect union?
Mm-hmm.
uh, Man, I so want to talk about that twist. Do you want to talk about the twist now?
Okay.
Yeah.
Just zooming right forward back
Yeah.
to the wellness check. Miss
Yeah.
Casey
Yeah.
is revealed to be somebody who has already been talked
Yeah.
about.
Yeah. We should also mention just a kind of pivotal scene, a little pivotal scene that is more pivotal in retrospect.
Yes.
Because of Mark and Helly running out on Miss Casey observing Helly,
Mm-hmm.
Miss Casey is sent to the break room.
Yes.
Which is tragic when you learn that Miss Casey is perhaps the shortest lived of all of them.
Yes.
Because
she
like she said, she's only been up for like 107 hours or something.
Yeah, like she's very well, it's weird because she's very well documented her own experience.
Yeah.
She's like, yeah, so why would she be the youngest there other than Helly R?
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
if not for a recent tragedy,
if not for a particular theory, there is a prominent theory about her. Okay, should we? So
well, we can get more into theories maybe a little bit later on, but the twist, we can talk about twists and stuff.
Okay, so spoiler alert, this is like really one of the first, the major twists.
Yeah.
Miss Casey, who, if you know, everybody it usually goes by first name, initial. She's the only one that has a Miss, like an honor, Miss
Yeah,
Casey.
she doesn't go by her given
First,
name and an initial. She is
yeah,
Miss Casey. So
yeah,
she is already set apart as kind of a
yeah, and
interesting character.
yeah. She's Mark's wife.
Yes.
Yes.
And that scene was sad too when they revealed it.
Yeah, yeah.
Because Mark's love life is a little all over the
Scout.
place. It's got a
Yeah,
lot going on.
yeah,
Let's
yeah.
just
So
say, yeah. Go ahead.
Scout, so Scout has a sister Devon, and Devon is married to Rickon, who's the best.
Rickon, by far the actual hero of the entire show.
He's like the funniest, the most bizarre character. He's,
oh my god.
It's funny. I will never say the names of who I'm about to maybe slag just a tiny bit, but I love them. I love them as people.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say this. If I didn't know these people, I would say Rickon is kind of a caricature.
Yeah.
But when I lived in Los Angeles for a while, I will say this. I met somebody who behaves exactly like him. And every time I talk to this person, I was like, how are you real? I thought this was like an over exaggeration. But I'm like, how is this a real person? Rickon is Scout, Mark's brother-in-law, and is married to Scout's very cool sister, Devon.
Mm-hmm.
Rickon is a self-help guru who publishes terrible books that sound awful and has the single most pretentious friends in the world. But Rickon, I will say this, is pretty obviously a genuinely nice guy, if just hopelessly pretentious,
Yes. I just love what they do with him as a character, though. Like,
he's so funny.
They make him essential. They make him so essential when just kind of play him off
Jesus. He's essentially Jesus.
Yeah.
Or if my theory that Helly is supposed to be Jesus, then I guess he would be maybe John the Baptist.
Maybe we shouldn't run with these Christianity connections so much. I mean, they are very interesting. I don't know.
I mean, every TV show and movie produced by the Western world, you could argue that every main character you could argue is Jesus in some way.
Mm-hmm.
But if we want to go with it, he might be like the equivalent of John the Baptist or something. So he leaves his self. So to explain Rickon leaves his self-help book that he published on Mark's doorstep. Oh, I always like the show because we're like, oh right, we have to explain this whole plot point now.
They're so interconnected. This is okay. Maybe just to save on like stress.
Yeah.
Let's just run with it because these characters are so interconnected.
Yeah.
To the point where when we're just trying to talk about one plot point or one cool thing that happened with a character, you end up talking about this whole other character and try to explain their arc. It's totally cool. Like, let's just assume everybody's seen it. Yeah. They know what we're talking about. Just talk about what you think is really cool about that character that you thought. Okay. I mean, it's so hard to talk about this. Yeah. Like one character at a time. Yeah.
So Mrs. Cobell, or Harmony Cobell, Mark's boss, is secretly also his neighbor, Mrs. Solving, and she lives right next to Mark.
Which I liked that reveal too. That was well done.
Yeah, that's the first big twist, and of course, Scout doesn't know that. But we have to talk about her in full in a minute. But she grabs the book and brings it down to the severed floor, and the severed employees accidentally find it. And this is So one of the things is that there's no books allowed in there except for the handbook, which is written very much like the Bible is written, you know?
Yeah.
So this, of course, causes a massive like change in philosophy in everybody, as being as they've never read any other book in the world but that one book. Rickon's trite hack ideas are revolutionary and amazing.
Yeah. And they
Literature,
actually are another catalyst for Mark to
yeah,
keep moving
yeah, to
toward
rebel.
to rebel.
It was not I who needed to change, but literature that needed to change. The middle of work, what corporate is employee is dust.
The in the center of industry is just
Yeah.
dust.
Dust. There it is. That's
Yeah.
But this creates an entire revolution about which they have no control because outside knowledge got in. And what was I say? Since we're talking about the handbook and obsession with the handbook, do we want to get into
Irving?
Yeah, let's
Yes.
get into Irving.
Yes. Okay. Obviously there's theories around Irving, but Irving ties really well into not just this cute little office romance,
Yeah.
but the culture of Lumen, the cult mentality behind Lumen, and Kier learning about like all that stuff. And also oh my gosh, there's so much about Irving.
Okay. So
yeah,
Irving,
anyway, go ahead.
Irving is another one of the macro data refiners, and is the oldest and has been there the longest.
Mm-hmm.
And Irving is obsessed with the handbook. In religious, using this religion metaphor, Irving is like an evangelicalist about.
Yeah, he has a lot of I wouldn't call him a zealot, but he's the one holding everybody to the handbook. And when they question things, Dylan's there for the incentives or for the little prizes, when Irving's just there for the handbook, the glory of Kier's sake, like just that's all he gets out of it.
His arc is really great because it's essentially him realizing all this is kind of all the stuff he's believed in is kind of bullshit, because he falls in love with Bert.
Christopher Walken.
Now
I love that.
I want to. You're not aware of John Turturro's work, but I want to.
Yeah, go ahead.
I want to impress the people who have never seen the show. This is a TV show where John Turturro and Christopher Walken are in a romantic relationship with each other. And do you not want to see it just based on that alone?
Yeah, let that be the selling point.
Yeah. Do you want to go like, those two weird, crazy people are really? Yes.
Yeah.
And
yes.
It's
cute.
Is very sweet.
It's so cute.
Yeah. So he meets Bert, who is the head of Bert is the first person we meet from a different department, O&D, or optics and design.
Yeah.
And so one of the big questions for a little bit is why do we not see any of the other departments? And we figure out exactly why you don't see any of the other departments. And the theory goes, there's two, that optics and design is the reason for that.
Yeah.
And the theory goes, a few years back on the Severance floor, there was a massive violent rebellion that optics and design led and started slaughtering people. And ever since then, the departments have been kept very separate. So they're paranoid about each other. So Bert leads optics and design, whereas Irving is in
macro data.
Macro data. And they hit it off immediately, partly because they're both sort of obsessed with Kier, partly because Irving is charmed that Bert is the one who can create all the art, and they both can talk deeply about their love of the certain art.
Yeah.
That because there's terrible like corporate art, plastic. Like who's that like hack, the painter of light, that guy?
Oh, Kincaid.
Tom Kincaid. Yeah, it's pretty Tom Kincaid-y art.
Yeah.
I don't plastered all around, and of course Irving is obsessed with this. And then we learn, we don't learn much about Irving's Audi for a long time, but we learn eventually that Irving's Audi is a painter of some sort.
Mm-hmm. That he has this deep appreciation. These all go into like,
Yeah.
oh, I could talk about Irving a lot. Anyway,
And we're going to.
it's mostly theories, because again, we don't know a lot about Irving's Audi.
Yeah, but he
follow him on the inside. Yeah.
He seems to be up to something.
Yeah.
I have two theories, and I don't know if I've discussed one of these theories with you before about who Irving is. But anyway, so him and Christopher Walken, him and Bert grow closer together throughout the show, and it eventually is very apparent that it's a romantic relationship.
Yeah.
And it's very cute to watch them together. And the fact that in real life that they're very good, they're very good friends. So like Tutorial said, I know I'm saying it wrong. I knew how to say it once in my life, and I can never say it right again.
No, it's good.
I'm certain the listeners here are screaming at me how to say it correctly.
I would doubt that, because I'm not sure how many. But hey, if you are listening to this, good for you. If I had a cookie, I'd give it to you. Get a cookie.
Yeah. Contact me on Twitter at Bigfoot. No, what is it? What is my stupid thing? Fruit Baron Sean. To tell me
how about this.
I am.
Click on the link through here to find the Substack page, and I will link all of Bigfoot's appropriate social media to yell at him. And look at this on Substack, by the way.
Yeah. Do you like my subtle plug of my stuff?
Oh, the subtlety. I have a little bit of
a note
about that, but I don't mind it.
Yeah. Anyways, so it's charming. They obviously have great, excellent lived-in chemistry with each other.
Yeah.
And Irving talking to Bert gives him new life. And then the tragedy happens.
Yes.
For Irving. And this is what makes it, because Irving up to this point is obsessed with Lumen, with Kier, with all this stuff. Yeah. And he even we should tell this. He even takes the entire group to the Perpetuity Wing, which is a weird intense museum dedicated to the Egans and specifically to Kier. And they even have a recreation of Kier's house as he lived. Yeah,
to scale, because you shall not, replicate my life in miniature.
No, it's you shall not depict my works in miniature.
You will not depict my works in miniature. Yes. So it is to scale, and you're not allowed to sit on the bed. Remember that.
Yes.
Please don't sit on the bed.
You shall not sit on the founder's bed.
Don't do it. I'm still traumatized.
We'll get there. We'll get there, because we haven't got to Dylan yet.
Yeah, Dylan. Well, that'll be that one.
So, because of their actions of kind of rebelling against the corporation, Bert is retired.
Yes.
Now, retirement is a kind of a twofold thing. And one of the things is retirement is essentially death for the Ennies, because that version of Bert will be forever gone. Finally, this makes Irving rebel into two of the greatest quotes. He calls Milchek, "You smug mother fudger, you smug mother fudger."
Yeah.
And then he says, "Fine," and then he comes back and he says, "Let's burn this place to the ground."
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes.
So good. So
Irving.
that finally incites Irving to rebel. And then, we're setting this all up for, I guess we should get to Dylan now.
Yeah, we can touch on a few good points. By the way, remind me. Oh, okay. This is actually a great segue.
Okay.
So we've established that Bert and Irving are connected through mostly just accident, but they have been the ones who are mostly going to and fro from departments. Again, I'm trying to say just something simple in a long convoluted way. You're not supposed to go between the departments, but Irving and Bert kind of initiate this this rule breaking, and because of that they get invited to O&D, which is Bert's department. And while in O&D, Dylan swipes a piece of information from O&D, puts it in his pocket and forgets, or like shoves it
puts it in his
toilet.
pocket and hides it in the toilet. And this is apparently whatever he swiped, and it's just seemingly a picture, a little diagram.
It looks like something you'd find in like a preschool room, like, or just like a easy,
or
it's like a
how to do Tai Chi sort of thing.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was.
Yeah.
Little laminated card.
But okay, so before let's explain who Dylan is, then we can go. What the repercussions of Dylan doing this is.
Dylan is maybe you do it better, but anyway.
Played by Zach Cherry.
Yes. Lovely.
Who was also on Parks and Recreation in a small
and apparently a very small cameo in the recent Spider-Man movie.
Oh yes, he was.
Just for like a moment.
So Dylan is kind of the super ambitious one of the group. He doesn't really believe in like the Lumen stuff, but oh my god, freaking Discord! I can't.
No, it's okay. Suffice it to say, Dylan, he works straight for the parties, the incentives, the little perks that kind of keep you docile with meeting quota. He always meets quota. He's like the overachiever.
Yeah. He's not into like the religious aspect of working there, but he likes all the perks. So and they're of course like aggressively childish perks, because they treat them a little bit like children. So it's finger traps, it's
erasers,
which are useless because they don't have pencils.
Yeah, it's true.
And
sometimes little frames, caricatures,
and caricatures. But if you're a refiner of the quarter, you will get to go to the waffle party.
The waffle party, which is where probably Dylan deals with the most cultish side of everything.
Yeah. But we'll get to the
waffle party. They hype that up from like the first episode, and then when you finally see the waffle party, it's like
it lives up to the hype.
Okay, all right. Yeah. I had a moment.
But it is. When we get to the waffle party, we'll get to the waffle party. So
yes, that's all he's there for.
The other important thing about Dylan is the one who's most curious about what his outside world out he does.
Yeah, he daydreams quite a bit about what he could be like out there, and maybe why he would be on the inside. He had some fun theories.
Yeah, and he has all these theories and stuff, and like his big thing is like he's pretty sure he lives in a houseboat or something.
Yeah.
And Dylan is the one who distrusts O&D most. So when he goes to O&D, he swipes this little card from O&D and stores it in the bathroom. And this is where the next big thing happens.
This is huge.
We find out, this is where, I guess we already spoiled that they can do this, but we find out that Dylan, that they can activate the innies outside of the severed floor.
Yes.
Something called the overtime contingency.
That's the one I couldn't think of.
Yeah. And Dylan finds out that he in fact has a kid.
Yeah. He has three kids.
Yeah. But we only meet one of them so far.
We meet one.
Yeah.
Because of this mishap at work.
Yeah. I saw a screenshot of like what the other contingencies were. I was trying to just look that up. Because so this of course completely changes Dylan, because after that he realizes what this company has been keeping from him, and all he wants to do is learn who his son is and what his son name is. And this of course ruins the musical dance experience and gets it canceled.
Yes.
Because the day after that happens, they have the musical dance experience.
Yes. And he is so very much on a new track now.
Yeah, and he's so furious about this that he decides to bite Mr. Milchek.
Yes.
Because Milchek absolutely refuses to
not dance in his own personal bubble.
Yeah, well, the real thing is Milchek refuses to tell him anything about his kid.
Yes.
Because
he jumps on him and says, "Tell me his name."
Yeah, tell me his name, and bites Milchek. And from, you can tell the second that happens that Dylan will refuse to participate in anything.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see if I can find the screenshot, because there's some great things, and it might imply future what will happen in the future, because we see a brief shot of what some stuff. Anyways,
yeah.
So I'll find it in a sec. But talk.
Yeah, go ahead.
So at this point, all four of them essentially want to rebel for some reason.
Yeah.
And once they learn about the overtime contingency, they make a plan to make a plan to activate it when they're on the outside. Now, okay, we should tell this one little thing first. To just give a little context. One more thing.
Yeah.
PD tells Mark of the possibility of getting reintegrated.
Yes.
And or Scout, as we're calling him.
Yes.
Reintegrated. And the Scout goes to visit the person who can do it, and is followed by Grainer, who's the head of security.
Yeah.
Now, the person who does it, I forget her name, but she's established as being one of the people that actually performs the procedure. That's why she's capable of pulling it off.
Yeah.
And she, as Grainer approaches, she kills Grainer and gives Scout the Grainer security passcode, the key. So that's how they're able to get from everywhere.
Yeah.
Is that he has that. And here's a key thing about the waffle party. Only one person is allowed to partake in the waffle party.
Yes.
But everybody gets the egg bar, because the egg bar is coveted as fudge.
Yeah.
Do you want to try and describe? And so they all leave, and Dylan says he's the one who can turn on the overtime contingency thing, even though it's meant for two people to turn that on. And then Dylan experiences the waffle party. And do you want to describe what this party is?
Oh, do I even have the verbiage? Is it verbiage? I don't know. My mind goes 100 different directions at the waffle party. First of all, you get a stack of waffles.
Granted. You do get to have some waffles.
And they're not dry, gross waffles. No. They're good. They got the butter, they got the sauces, the syrup, everything. Delicious. Then you are given a set of directions to do the thing that you're not supposed to do. You may sit on the bed. This is of the founder. This is in the perpetuity wing.
Yeah, and then there's the
show, the dinner and the show, basically.
But there's a giant mask of the founder that you're supposed to put
on. You take on the persona of the founder. You become Kier, and you get to what I can only call a, what is it? I don't even know. I don't have the words. It's just
a burlesque.
some kind
show?
of burlesque, bizarre, also probably some sort of ritualistic or storytelling of some part of the
Oh, did
the
you not
life of Kier.
did you see the message I sent you
Was it in?
on
Oh
Discord?
yeah. All the snapshots. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
So
did not
it's
look
a
at them very
yeah
closely because I
yeah.
was like,
So
nope, no, thank you.
we see this reference. We see this referenced. There's a painting of Kier with a cat of nine tails, and the cat of nine
Yeah.
tails. So they have the nine tempers
Yes.
of Kier of human greatness,
Yeah.
and or it's the nine virtues, and then there's the four tempers
Mhm.
that hold back human greatness. So essentially what happens is four dancers scantily clad come in and give them a big give a dance,
Mhm.
and each dancer is wears a horrifying huge mask.
Yes.
One is a fool, one is a goat, more goat imagery, one is an old woman, and then one is a screaming young woman.
Mhm.
And they all position themselves, and what is theoretic, and Dylan is given a cat of nine tails with the nine virtues of Kier on it, and you're symbolically supposed to defeat the
Yes.
tempers with those nine virtues.
It gets into some weird kinky territory, but it's
Yeah.
all symbolic of the what
the
you're saying.
success, the success of corporate. And again, I want to go on the record and say there's nothing wrong if you got a king.
Just saying if you're not expecting it,
I will
does kind
say
of come out of nowhere.
Yeah, these fucking masks are gosh darn terrifying. They are the creepiest things you will ever see.
Yeah, if you no, it's definitely you have your whatever it is, your preferences. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just the way this is played off in the show and the atmosphere. It's meant to be disconcerting. It's meant to be bizarre. It's not meant to be sexual.
Yeah.
But there is that imagery there.
Yeah. But it is, it kind of comes out of nowhere because the show hasn't been really like sexy in that way.
Yeah, no.
Although there is, a bunch of good-looking people in that office, but there is definitely a very, like, I heard online, like somebody was talking about it. I don't remember who said this, but what this probably is the only sexual release that the innies ever get.
It's true. Just because you are an innie does not deprive you of all of your humanity and all of your drives. So it's true. It's a good point to make.
So this is probably the only sexual release that they get. And of course, somehow Dylan just seemingly somehow abandons this. How could he with an opportunity this enticing?
Yeah, they were in agreement. They had the plan for the whatever it is, the OTC
overtime contingency.
Yeah.
And I wish I could find it, but I want to find like a screenshot of the different contingencies, because Dylan runs into the security room and we see a list of other contingencies that there are.
Yeah.
And there's a few interesting ones that might imply something for later about what they're actually capable of.
There are so many small little hidden pieces of information. And even in the show, I'm not sure if it is at all something that you could pick up in the show. I had no real, you told me about the short story, the Lexington letter. I don't know if there's any allusion to it in the show other than just it's like a side
well, to talk briefly about the Lexington letter, I believe it's implied that the Lexington letter takes place in another facility.
Yes, no, it
So
does. It takes place in Topeka.
yeah,
Topeka?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And Topeka is a relatively large city, and wherever
Yeah.
they are, it's kind of a small town.
Yeah. Which is just to say that this whole Lumen Severance thing, this is worldwide, if not nationwide.
Yeah.
Nationwide, if not worldwide.
And and we learn at the gala that they're definitely planning to make this everybody should become Severance.
Yeah, they're gonna make it a major facet of the company.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have the plan, the OTC, which is a revolutionary new, not revolutionary, but this new piece of information that we learned through Dylan's storyline. Which, by the way, Milchick tried to do the overtime contingency without any mishaps, but because Dylan's Audi has small children and children don't listen to adults, this kid basically was meant to count to 1,000.
Yeah.
And then come back and see his dad, but he came in too early, and that's what triggered Dylan to see his child as he runs up and says, "Daddy," and now Dylan has more to live for.
Exactly.
His innie has more to live for than just incentives and perks and meeting quota and getting waffle parties.
Exactly. I'm trying to find a list of, because I know there's a few. So the one I wanted to find was, I forget how they worded it, but it's one of the ones is reboot, I believe, or it's all clear or something like that. Is on the list of contingencies, and this plays into a theory I have about
Irving. Yeah. Honestly, I think we might have similar thoughts, but I'll let you go, and then I'll just if there was anything else that I thought of, I'll chime in. But you just you've seen it twice, so you get more out of it. I'm still kind of like, oh yeah, that happened. Oh yeah, that happened. But I love these theories.
Okay, so so there's two facts about Irving that we probably need to mention. Well, one fact at least. We know how long Irving has been there, but we also know how he's been a macro refine. Irving has been at Lumen for, I believe it's established 9 years. But he's only worked for macro
data refinement.
Why can't I say it?
It's okay. MDR.
Madar. And MDR is, he's only worked there for 5 years. So with this talk about the rebellion, here's my theory about Irving. The rebellion was real and Irving was there. And I think specifically Irving worked in O&D.
Okay.
With Bert. And there's a contingency that says, essentially, it says goldfish. That's what it says. And because goldfish have bad memories. Which, by the way, that's actually a myth. Goldfish have perfectly fine memories, but
might as well call it goldfish, I guess. I don't know.
Don't put goldfish in those little bowls if people are curious. The goldfish are actually supposed to grow much bigger. Anyways, that's my political cause.
Okay.
Goldfish.
The bigger bowl.
Yeah. What was I saying? So here's my theory. We don't learn much about Irving's Audi. We know that he was in the military.
Yes.
And we know one other thing. We know at least two other things. We know that he's a painter. And that he seemingly has been keeping track of severed employees throughout the town. And so this leads to my theory that he was actually initially an O&D and may have even known Bert before, and then they conducted the rebellion, and then his mind was wiped and he was resent to macro data refinement.
No, I was thinking something similar. I don't know. Should I just go into my full-on theory?
Oh
We
yeah,
might as
I
well.
mean,
We might as well talk about theories at this
yeah.
point. We've covered a huge amount of people, and I feel like if
And
you
it's
have
your
to
show.
yeah, no, and frankly, this is, by the way, I'm probably going to just push this in the
Yeah.
description, but this is a huge, not huge, because I've only put out so many episodes and we've mostly
Yeah.
been talking about another show and kind of reacting to it. This is a completely different type of discussion.
Yeah.
So this, if anybody is actually subscribed and is actually like listening to all of these, this is going to
Mrs.
feel
Funk.
different. Yeah.
Yeah. Mother Funk.
Yes.
But yeah. No, you've been talking about Attack on Titan, right?
Yes. Yeah. Which has also just ended its second part. A new episode about that coming out soon. But this theory that I have about
Tell me about
everything. I like your idea. I think yours is better because again, the rebellion side from O&D was something that I was still kind of trying to wrap my mind around. But I was really invested in that last moment when it started to kind of reveal his outie. His father was in the Navy. We learned that. He's probably a part of some military family, if not a military or a veterans group on the outside. Because of this, this gets so wide, but because of this connection to O&D and the rebellion and all that, it could also be, how do I explain this? I think I'm just jumbled up. I think that his reasons seem obvious to having become a part of the severed program was PTSD.
Yes.
Or a form of PTSD.
That's probably what it is.
Also something kind of interesting, his dog's name is Radar.
Yeah.
Which is also a palindrome.
Yes.
It's the same forward as it is backwards. Anyway, which is another nod to Severance.
And a little fun side note about all that is when he Irving, we first meet Miss Casey because she gives Irving a wellness check, and she says, "You love the sound of Radar." And then we meet Irving's outie. It's his dog's name is Radar.
But also, he could be a veteran and have actually heard the sound of Radar many times. Though whether he enjoys it or not, in that context, might be up for debate. Exactly. The point is, he has his reasons there to want to become severed.
Yeah.
And then maybe because of this rebellion side, he has to this was what it was. Okay, because of PTSD and the complications that can play on your mind, not to say that most people who are probably going in like Mark as getting, you have some form of trauma. We know that this is kind of the underlying thing is it seems like the way that you can best overcome severance, if not full reintegration, is through the subconscious.
Yes.
And a lot of stuff happens subconsciously through a traumatized mind. I don't know a whole lot of technical terms, so please, I'm not a psychologist. I don't have that. I'm not a professional, but maybe that helped him and the other people in O&D, piggybacking off of your theory. He started to maybe start a reintegration process. And that's when he was caught. Because now we know you were talking about the other contingencies, the goldfish, whatever. If he was rebooted, he would had to have been taken down to the testing floor. Which is what he's painting over and over.
I don't know if we've explained what the testing floor is.
No.
Just very briefly, Miss Casey in her last scene announces that she was fired because of this thing. And we learn that she's only been up for like the equivalent of like 4 days or something. And that 8 hours she spent outside was the best time of her life. And she gets brought down to it. they all ride up in one elevator, and then she gets brought down up, and then she gets brought down to a new elevator that we've never seen before, which is a black hallway, and it rides down.
Yeah.
And we didn't explain. Okay, so a little bit about Irving is Irving. The innies never experience sleep, but
Yes.
Irving keeps drifting off to sleep, and
Yes.
having nightmares about black goo
dripping around and flooding the
Yeah.
place. Yeah.
Yeah, and we find out later that Irving's outie loves to paint, is a painter, can paint, and he's obsessively been painting this testing floor hallway.
Yes.
And
with black oozing
paint.
Yeah,
so that's probably where the paint is coming from. But what's interesting is that Irving seemingly is investigating Lumen and other Severed employees.
Yes.
And is constantly drinking coffee in the middle of the night. So the theory that's been going around that I have, and I heard other people say, is that Irving is somehow working against Lumen, and this is his ploy and get in contact with his innie by because it seems that the issue is that the severance process doesn't work well when you're asleep.
Yes, because you're slipping out of consciousness.
Yeah,
and slipping more into your subconscious, more unconscious. So the effects of the chip would be maybe more on a, I would say more on a reintegration level from what we saw with Petey. Petey is the character who gets reintegrated after, was he fired? I can't remember. He was let go. He was fired. And he received, I think it was from that one character, we can't remember her name, helped turn off the chip, but there was something that went wrong. Petey's brain is jumbled. He hallucinates. He thinks he's in one place, then he's in another. They're definitely
reintegration ends up killing him.
Yes, it's not a, like you said, like it's not permanent, but that also doesn't mean that reintegration is all that healthy. It's still there's problems with it. So I think my theory kind of goes back to, I think because it seems evident that the Irving that we meet in this season has already gotten close to some form of reintegration, if not through falling asleep, because he has these hallucinations at work while he is dozing off at his cubicle. But he also had to be rebooted, and because he's seen that testing floor, it's in his memory. Even when he's an outie, even when he's out there, he remembers the image of this testing floor, and when he paints it obsessively over and over. I think it has, he's definitely trying to do something, and he's keeping himself up at night. I also thought maybe PTSD might have something to do with that.
Probably it does.
The point is, he is, we get this image, or we get this tidbit of information that the subconscious can tie between the outie and the innie. They are the same person, and they are still connected. I mean, through Irving and his dozing off at work, and because he comes back with such fervor and such devotion to Kier and the company, which seems like he's had something beaten out of him.
And well, I was going to say the Lexington letter also hints at the fact that they can't really control the subconscious. Do we want to talk about the Lexington letter, or do we want to?
We might as well. Because this all kind of ties back. We've touched on each of the 4 characters that are a part of MDR, and the work that they do in MDR is really fascinating. They really talk about it a lot in the Lexington letter.
Well, the work they do in MDR is mysterious and important.
Mysterious and important.
Here's what they do at MDR. MDR is they sit and stare at numbers and put them in files, and they know which numbers to put in files because it's scary for them. That's all they do every day. They put it in the right files. If the numbers are scary, or if they're happy, or if like a bunch of other feelings.
Yeah.
Sounds like exciting work, right? Real career advancement.
It's just as confusing to them, I feel, than
As us.
us. It makes no sense. Like, you'd feel like there's a very set procedure. They're meant to stare at a screen full of numbers and hover their cursor over
Yeah.
until they find a set of numbers or a group of numbers that give them a certain emotional reaction.
Yeah.
And then they bin those. They drag
Yeah.
and drop them, bin them in a certain
Yeah.
order, certain bins related to what their emotional reaction is, which is
Yeah.
really bizarre.
Yeah.
But if they,
and then
yeah, go ahead.
Just because I would be remiss if I did not mention this,
Mhm.
they get a little animation if they complete their file.
Yes, if they complete the file, meet their quota, all that stuff, they get a little lovely
Animation
congratulations from Kier himself.
in pixel art. And
Yes.
then it looks like something out of Oregon Trail.
Yeah.
And then he jumps off the cliff and flies away, flies back to say hello, and then flies off.
Yeah. Another bizarre moment.
Yeah.
Anyway, the way this ties into the Lexington letters is, or letter, it's
I'm gonna throw this out.
Yeah, go ahead.
People, if you've seen the show and you haven't read the Lexington letter,
go read it.
Go read it, because boy, does it give away a big thing.
And we're going to talk about that thing.
Yeah, and I'm gonna say spoiler alert.
Yeah, spoiler alert for the Lexington letter. It's free. There's no reason not to go read it. It'll take you like 10 minutes maybe.
Yeah. So the Lexington letter is about Peggy.
It's about Peggy.
Yeah.
Peggy K.
Peggy K. She works at what we maybe, I assume, is a different facility, because like who's in charge is named
we are never we've never actually been told where Severance takes place in the real world.
Yeah, but Peggy says it takes place, she's living in Topeka.
Yeah.
And the town is too small to be Topeka.
Yeah. So she is also an MDR.
Yeah.
She is a refiner at her severed floor.
Yeah. So when she was a kid, her and her sister created their own fake, like their own language that replaced
Puglish
letters. Yeah, Paralish with letters with like animals.
Yeah, it looked kind of like a hieroglyphics type of. Yeah.
So this is important because the symbolic sensors don't pick up on it.
They can't have Puglish in their
database, because it's only known by 2 people, and that means that she's able to talk with her innie.
Yes.
And
Margaret can talk to Peggy. And so the Lexington letter is a set of email, as a long story sent by Margaret, Peggy's outie, to a reporter for the paper. I can't remember what the name of the paper is, but
so we first learn a little bit about how this all works. But the severed, which is interesting because it answers a few questions. And so like they say essentially, like they know what alcohol is, but they have no idea what it ever tastes like or looks like.
Mm-hmm.
Like they know they live in America, but they don't know what America is. They've never seen a picture of America.
Yeah.
And they have no concept of it beyond the fact that they live there. So so they know the vaguenesses of stuff, like they have like those memories, but they can't remember any specifics about anything.
Yeah, the way you explained it last night was really good. You said they have no episodic memory.
Yeah, they have no episodic memory. This is me probably misremembering memory, but a thing I read once is that memory kind of works in two quadrants. There's episodic memory, which is the memory that we have of our lives. And then there's situational memory, which is like how we know how to do certain things, you know.
Mhm.
And and I have no idea if that's like pseudoscience now or whatever, but it's what I heard.
Google refers to it as semantic memory.
Yeah.
Semantics refers to your general world knowledge that you
Yeah.
pick up from growing up and just
Yeah.
learning things about the world. It doesn't mean you have experienced those things yourself and you don't have any memories of your own experience doing it, but you know what it is.
Yeah.
So Severance
So-
does not take away your semantic memory.
But it takes away your episodic memory.
Yes.
Because like just so you know, like one of the interesting things about like TV or like anytime amnesia is depicted on screen
Mhm.
is they actually get it completely wrong.
Yeah.
It actually works the opposite way. Amnesia doesn't make you forget memories of your life. It makes you have the inability to form new ones.
Mm.
So you remember things, but it makes it really hard for you to form new memories.
Yeah. No, you have a point. Yeah.
So
I never thought of it that way.
Yeah. And of course, you know, I have 20 PhDs in a variety of different subjects, so I know everything, but there's a slight chance I might be wrong about this idea.
Right.
But what was I saying?
Memories and the way memory works.
Yeah. So okay, but the big thing about the Lexington letter is they reveal what macro data might be doing.
Yes, what the real reason behind it.
Yeah, and it's not it doesn't explain like the process of they're doing it or what they're doing exactly, but Peggy gives a note that says they've completed the Lexington file, and they say it's completed at exactly 2:11 p.m. on a certain day.
Yeah.
And in the news, her Audi is watching TV, and Lumen's major competitor, a truck for Lumen's major competitor, mysteriously blows up without any bombs or anything being detected.
Yeah.
At 2:11 p.m. on the dot that they finished the file.
Yeah. So there's a correlation, at least time-wise, between Lumen's macro data refinement and real life
tragedy.
And this goes into another theory that I have.
Tell me.
My theory is, oh man, I need to learn. There's not much. Okay, so quick side note, but I'm gonna get into this theory. Dan Erickson, the writer behind these characters, the story arc. He also wrote for Lip Sync Battle. Yes, he may have a very short
writing career,
but
it's awesome.
Oh my gosh, it's so good. What I was able to see from, other than what he's already worked on, he has apparently put out primarily books, and some of them are autobiographical about his own time. He has done extensive time in both dead end corporate soul-sucking jobs, which lends to the way he writes this setting, and extreme cults.
Yes, didn't he like grow up in a cult?
I think so. I do need to do more research on him. Again, this is Dan Erickson, the writer, not the cinematographer. He was not,
because there's another Dan Erickson who
when you Google him, you will not get Dan Erickson, the writer. You'll get the guy who was connected to what were the movies? Yeah,
I believe he edited some like not very good movies. I remember.
Yeah. Just know that this guy, you need to also Google writer or Severance. Probably Severance when you look up this guy. The point is, he's got some books out there. He has experience with cults. Okay, long tangent. Okay, gone. Back to my theory. To cause tragedy in the outer world is to push people to grief, to push people to desperate moments in their life. That's when cults, that's the type of people that cults look for. They try to indoctrinate and take in people who are vulnerable, who are
Yeah.
suffering, who are asking the big why questions. Why would God do this? Why would blah,
Yeah,
blah,
yeah.
blah. Let's give you an answer, because Lumen
Yeah.
very much is more of a cult than anything else, but they are running this
Exactly.
giant corporation
Yeah.
through this macro data thing. If they are indeed causing, somehow through the macro data, they are causing real life, not just taking out their competitors, but also causing tragedy,
Yeah.
then they're probably also sending agents in to try to find vulnerable people, probably the family,
Well,
next of kin to these people who probably got hurt,
yeah. Well,
bring them
that
into the cult.
I'll say that that also contributes to my big theory about why Miss Casey is there.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll get that into that in a sec.
Yeah, there's that other side too. There of
Yeah.
the more biological side to it.
Yeah.
But also, like, okay, this goes a bunch of different directions, but I think somehow if they're doing this, they're also
Yeah.
sending people out to
I
say,
mean,
hey, if you this way Lumen can't lose. Say
Yeah.
you want to, okay, we'll offer you a job, you know, times are hard right now, especially, you know,
Yeah.
because your husband died. Oh, you
Yeah.
need a job. Well, Lumen's hiring. Oh,
Yeah.
there's also the severance program. Would you want to be
Yeah.
severed? Because, you know, it's pretty hard to deal with this reality.
Yeah.
But hey, if you don't want to be severed, that's okay. We have a lot of
Yeah.
great programs that can help you
Yeah.
through your grief, and we could blah, blah, blah. And it's slowly not just keeping them, because I always thought, like, why would the higher ups stay? Like in the case Milchick, why would Milchick stay if he wasn't
Yeah.
getting some sort of something out of it, not just monetarily, but like, is he that devoted to, or I guess a better case is Koble. She's very dedicated to Kier and the whole cult
Yeah.
behind it.
She has Kier a effigy to Kier in her home.
Yeah. My point is, it's textbook
Cult
cult manipulation, cult
Yeah.
getting people to what is it, recruitment.
Yeah.
And it's also corporate enough to be like, hey, we could also offer you this severance program. Is
Yeah.
completely painless, is completely
Yeah.
cool, and it's very enticing for more
So-
people to come in. And we now know that Lumen's goal is to grow and expand and basically employ
Severed.
everyone.
Yeah. So yeah, oh yeah, most definitely. So like what you're saying really like plays into it, because Mark was definitely recruited because his wife died.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because so the theory I have about Miss Casey is, so PD cryptically says that there are people who are in the severed floor at all times.
Yeah.
And it's pretty heavily implied that Miss Casey is one of them.
Yeah.
So the theory I have for a long time about Miss Casey is what happened is because Gemma, what's her real name, had a car accident and hit a tree.
Yeah.
And so the theory I have is essentially that caused her to go into a coma.
Yeah.
And the severance wakes her up.
Okay. Yeah.
When they severed her and they can wake her up essentially.
Yeah.
But when she gets unsevered, she goes back into the coma.
Which is why she can never leave the severed floor.
Pretty much. Or
or she's always on the severed floor and they just turn her off, turn her on. Maybe she.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's all. That's, you know, you don't think that maybe that's Lumen's final goal is to be able to just simply control everybody, right?
If not just for the praise of Kier.
Yeah.
But
so you know, the theory with Koble is, my theory is, we see in her house that she has a medical bracelet with the name Koble on it. And a little thing we didn't mention about Koble on the outside goes by Mrs. Selvig.
Yep.
So what my whole thing about it is Mrs. Selvig is clearly her maiden name and Koble is her married name.
Yep.
So the theory I have is, and Koble is, by the way, obsessed with Mark and Gemma. Like, she's constantly around Mark. She even integrates herself with Mark's sister by pretending pretending to be a lactation specialist.
Yeah.
And Mark, and the theory I've seen a lot is why Coble is so obsessed is because her husband is probably in a similar situation
Yeah. To
to
Gemma.
to Gemma. And if she can make Mark remember Gemma,
Yeah.
then she can pull that off with her husband.
Yeah. No,
And that's yeah.
Yeah. So this works as they're comatose, assuming. Could it
Yeah.
be also that they could be dead,
Wow, we
or
don't
at
know
least
that
pronounced
yet.
dead? Because here's the other side of that theory is I heard someone else say this, because the refining process is very emotional.
Yeah.
It could also be keeping comatose people alive on the testing floor.
That could be it as well. I mean, there's definitely, we know what the bad numbers do, but we know there's also happy numbers.
Yeah, it's all emotional, which made me
Yeah.
think it has to do with the way someone is or the theory was it had to do with the way someone was feeling at the moment. Say the file, like, okay, take the Lexington letter or the Lexington file, for example. Maybe
Yeah.
somebody named Lexington is on the testing floor in Topeka.
Yeah.
And well, no, it blew up the truck. I don't know. The point is,
Well, maybe
it blew up the truck. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Well, maybe somebody was named Lexington in the truck. Could that possibly be?
Maybe Lexington is where their competitors reside. I think there was this other theory that it all can tie back to maybe just okay, maybe it has nothing to do with the refinement. Maybe it's only the severance, like you're saying. It's just severance itself. I can imagine that they're going to try not just to do it like get as many employees for Kier's, glory or whatever, but maybe they try to resurrect the body of Kier or bring him back in a way.
Ooh.
Because what's more culty than that?
Kier
returns through Severance.
Yes. Much like a certain fisherman in Judea.
Okay. If you say so. Oh my gosh. We're gonna piss so many Christians off. Well, are they gonna watch the show? I'm not sure. They should. I think it's imperative that Christians watch this show. Frankly.
Yeah, because everybody should just see this show because it rules.
It's awesome. And it'll get you to maybe have some healthy skepticism of some certain facets of things. Yeah. I'm
especially
not saying
culture.
anything. Yes, especially corporate culture. That was twofold. Severance could be the new I just say improve because that's what rolls off the tongue. The new method that the cult of Kier and Lumen are trying to use to bring back their leader.
Exactly.
But also get people to work for them.
Wonderful Kier. Was it one Kier?
Oh my gosh. No, I think you're completely on. I was trying to figure out why Coble was so obsessed with Mark. And I thought it had to do with sending agents after people who lived near the plant.
And do you want to say what your initial theory about Mark was? About who Mark's wife was?
About what?
Because you told me your initial theory about who Mark's wife was. Before. Do you remember what your theory was?
Did I?
Yeah.
Theory. I thought it might have been Mrs. Coble.
Yeah.
And she was unsevered at the time, and he was.
Yeah.
But now I know it has probably way more to do with the idea that she knows his life story.
Yeah.
She has something to gain from seeing how his relationship. Yeah, she was watching the last wellness check with Miss Casey very astutely. I think your theory is correct that she wants to see how well it turns out because she has her own relationship on the line.
Yeah. And what was I saying? Well, that's why I brought up your when you're saying like cults like deliberately look out for like grieving people, like people whose
Yeah, I
like choices have like mind has just been overwhelmed. Like,
mhm.
because there's no way in heck that Mark wasn't deliberately recruited because Miss Casey died.
Absolutely, and
Yeah,
she is his neighbor. Like
yeah,
she
yeah,
was
yeah.
specifically placed. And by the way, just one more thing, not like this is kind of going way back, but Severance, the show in itself, we don't know exactly where in America it takes place, but
Someplace cold.
someplace cold, somewhere probably north. We're assuming maybe the Northwest,
Yeah,
because of tech corporations. But now we know that this is on like a national
yeah.
scale. The point is, Lumen almost feels like they own the town. It's very
Well,
much
the company town.
a company town. So
Everybody works for the same town.
everybody works for Lumen in this
Yeah,
town
I believe
to an extent.
Yeah. Just on a personal note, I know you know the story, but for the
Yeah, go ahead.
beautiful people out there in listener land,
Yeah.
I grew up in a company town.
Mhm.
I was born in a company town, so this felt very familiar for me. That literally everybody worked for the same boss. Everybody like was in some way lived and worked for the exact same people.
Yeah.
I was born in, and this is one of the interesting little things about my biography. I was born in Saudi Arabia.
Yep.
In Dhahran, Saudi Arabia, and my parents worked for the Aramco oil company. So in some way, watching this felt very like familiar, like the social structures and all this.
Yeah. But because this is Lumen we're talking about, and it's very pretty straightforward from the first episode that it's not all on the up and up, and it's not really a company that should own the entire town. I personally, in my own experience watching the show, I was skeptical of just about everyone in the town.
Yeah.
Because it's a company town. I wasn't sure who worked where, who worked for what, and not like they would know if they were severed. Yeah. But there's also, you kind of see there's also this controversy. There's still controversy around Severance. There
and there's
people.
Pips.
Yes, Pips from the first episode. We learned that
one of the former CEOs was nicknamed Pip.
Yeah, Philip nicknamed Pip. Egan. There is a diner in town called Pips. So it's evident that Lumen owns the town, and I'm not saying everyone works. For example, Mark dates this wonderful woman named Alexa. Play I don't know.
Alexa, play Alexa, play Metallica, Volume 10. Oh my God.
My Alexa's playing. Stop.
my Amazon listening device.
Yes.
I do technically.
Yeah.
I do in fact technically work for the glory of a CEO.
Yes.
Real life. Because I stream on Twitch, and I do in some way put money into Jeff Bezos' pocket.
By the way, you can come listen to this on Substack. Not that I know that that's not owned by any giant corporation. It's fairly new place.
Yeah. Also, and if it does really well, and obviously it'll do well because of us.
Yes.
It'll probably get bought out by Amazon.
Yeah, it's only a matter of time. So bring those lovely dollars over here before they go into Jeff Bezos' pocket. All I'm saying is, yes, there's a midwife. She probably doesn't work for Lumen, but I was like having these moments of like, okay, where are we gonna go? Like, say when Petey has his emergency, or when you have to call an ambulance, and what's the word? Fortunately, and maybe slightly unfortunately, Devin scouts sister and her lovely husband Rickon decide to have their baby in a cabin
Yeah.
and not in a hospital, because I wasn't sure if the hospital was owned by Lumen or
Oh,
the
it probably is.
pharmaceuticals were owned by Lumen. Who knows?
Because whatever Lumen's doing is probably a medical company of some sort.
They could be making all kinds of things. We
Yeah.
don't know.
Well, I said Lumen is essentially like the equivalent of like Wayne Enterprises from Batman Industries, because it's just like it's a company that seemingly does everything and anything that it needs to do.
Yeah. So watching it, I wasn't sure if, Scout dating Alexa was going to be
Alexa.
Like, whatever it decides to play, it's not going to be loud enough. If she was connected, but I learned she was a midwife, I'm kind of like, okay, well, you're kind of working on your own there.
You hear that in the background?
No, I can't hear it.
Oh, it's going off. Okay, anyways, go on.
Yeah, I already said it. Basically, you didn't know who you could trust. At least I didn't know who I could trust in the town once I kind of learned, okay, does Lumen own everything in this town? Is it just inevitable that everyone would show up to come to work for Lumen? Because now we know that there are certain floors that are not severed, but severance is kind of a new thing, and it's been around for long enough that there's a floor of employees in different departments that all work there. And
it's controversial enough that there are in-universe protests to it.
Yeah. Yes. Case in point, not case in point, but example, June, who is Petey's daughter.
Yeah.
Who has plenty of personal reasons to hate Lumen and hate Severance.
And is part of a punk band that sings what is the song of the summer.
Yeah.
Frick you, Lumen.
Yeah. They are just another saving grace and voice of reason other than Rickon and his wonderful self-help bibliography.
Totally.
Yeah. Oh, so basically all the people who are chanting for the right side, they're somehow off the grid or somehow underground, pun unintended. Because underground could also just mean severed, but yes. And when Petey is
you
able
could
to
say
get out
severed
of it
from society.
Yeah, severed from the societal norms.
Yeah.
And Petey himself has to kind of live on the run.
Yeah.
And it all kind of ties back to how much power does Lumen have in that town, and is everybody, do they have eyes on everybody? Because Mrs. Selvig and or Miss Coble lives next door to Mark. They keep tabs on everybody.
I mean, how could major corporations keep tabs on everybody? I mean, isn't that right, Alexa?
Alexa, do you know Jeff Bezos personally?
Alexa, is Jeff Bezos listening to me right now?
I think mine can only hear me.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I'm sorry for irritating anybody there.
Sorry,
Alexa,
not sorry.
buy $20 worth of candy.
That'll make it worth it. That'll make them happy.
Yeah.
Are they trying to bring back people from the dead? AKA Kier, the wonderful, the almighty.
Kier, wonderful Kier.
The wonderful one, Kier. The chosen one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought about that, but maybe that's really the whole plan, is to resurrect Kier.
It sounds just bizarre enough for like a dark comedy like Severance to try.
Yeah. And by the way, if we haven't made this clear, first of all, Severance is, despite it being directed by Ben Stiller and starring Adam Scott, is mostly a really intense sci-fi thriller.
Yeah,
but there is a great like undercurrent of dark comedy that runs throughout the whole show. And there are many like kind of laugh out loud moments.
So there's really no losing here.
Yeah.
There's no losing. You get your thriller, you get your drama and darkness, but you also get that comedy, which is why it's the sleeper hit of 2022.
Yeah. Under owning, apparently, according to the streamer charts, it's only under turning red
Yes.
for streamer head of the year.
If you haven't heard of Severance,
Yeah.
then hence.
Well, you definitely have now if you're at this point.
Yes, because of this just wide audience that I have.
Yeah. Yeah.
Basically, if you're tired of the shenanigans with Attack on Titan, just do yourself a favor and just watch Severance to get your mind off it.
It's freaking awesome.
It's so good. Have we covered everything? We talked about the major plot twists. Oh, okay. We might as well talk about that last episode and like the last part of the episode.
First of all,
this
is one of the best episodes of television I've ever seen. The last episode. It's like the entire thing is like told it pretty much in real time, and it's an intense like thriller. So it's all leading up to them breaking out of the like they discover the overtime contingency, and Dylan manages to turn it on for all three of them so they can see what their outie lives are like. Mm-hmm. Mark wakes up at a party for that Rickon is throwing. Helly wakes up at the gala, and Irving wakes up in his apartment painting.
Yes.
And you literally, it's, you hold your breath the whole time because it's just like, oh my God, because it's like, because the second that Dylan lets go of the levers, and the whole overtime process is designed for two people, so Dylan is pretty much just stretching like crazy the entire to keep it up, and you can tell any second his arms are gonna give out.
Yeah, ironically, being the shortest one from
I do have to say
too. That's kind of funny that he's got the shortest limbs and he's put in that position.
Well, and the reason why he does that is because, which I think shows Dylan's character quite well. He says it's only fair because he got to experience it, so everybody else should. Yeah,
he's already. And he's the one who we know the least about his outie, and I'm actually quite excited if we all get to learn about that in season 2.
Which is ironic because Dylan is probably the one who wanted to know the most about his outie.
Yeah.
But the second he does, he gets furious.
Yeah. I love Dylan. He's great.
Dylan, I mean, honestly, all the characters are great.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay, quick, just little side thing. When they go to the perpetuity wing for the first time or whatever, then they go into that room with everyone's dental records.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that killed me. That was so funny when he comes in. It's like, oh, they got rid of the hot chick.
I mean, let's be honest. Dylan has probably the best line, like almost all the funniest lines.
They give him the comic relief kind of role until his plot moves forward a lot. Yeah, he's really the comic relief guy until he's given a higher purpose. And
I mean, he does say one of my favorite lines in the whole show, which is, the egg bar. It's coveted as fuck.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, you're sorry, I interrupted you, but you were talking about him holding.
Oh, I was just saying, like, because you can clearly tell it's like, far, and you just can't keep that position forever. So the whole episode, you're like, when are his arms gonna, like, when is it arms gonna stop, like, just tire out?
Yeah.
So it's like this nail biter the whole episode, because it's just like any second, this is gonna end, and whatever's gonna happen.
They ratchet it up to 100. Also, okay. Remind me if I'm wrong. The moment Mark S wakes up, he is talking to Koble, right?
Yeah, and her Mrs.
As Mrs. Selvig at the party.
She's hugging him.
She's hugging him,
I think.
Yeah. Okay, these are just other ways that they ratchet the tension up to like a billion. Yeah. Not only is Dylan like struggling to hold these switches down, Mark is having a one-on-one with his boss, who has just recently been let go from the company because of Helly's shenanigans. Yeah. Irving is in the process of painting the
testing room,
the testing floor hallway, which is a traumatizing image for him on all levels. And Helly is literally at her family's gala celebrating her
being
being severed, which has been the bane of her existence this entire time.
Yeah.
Everybody's at this really
Yeah.
triggering moment, but also
Exactly.
a moment where they could mess up just by saying the wrong thing. None of these people have ever been there. They don't know the
Intricacies.
the intricacies
Yeah.
of the society they're in.
Yeah.
And they have to navigate through pretending to be their outie as best as possible. And it all gets ruined when Mark decides to refer to
because
Mrs.
he does
Coble,
he
didn't take the time to learn that she is not Mrs. Coble.
Out here, she's Mrs.
Out
Solving.
here, she's Mrs. Solving. So that sparks another layer of tension. Now,
she's racing back.
Coble knows what's going on,
and she's racing back.
And she has an in back into her beloved company that has recently let her go.
Can I talk about the moment where I screamed out, "Frick you!"
Yeah. Go ahead.
Butthole.
Yeah.
So trying to think of appropriate ways.
Bigfoot had a moment. And it's very funny. It's very good.
Yeah. So Rickon is Mark is like shocked to see Rickon there, and that Rickon is his brother-in-law, because he interprets Rickon as like this genius, and Scout kind of sees Rickon as a pretentious, not a fool.
Mm-hmm.
But when Mark goes up, it's like, you're you changed, this book changed your life, in my life, it's amazing. And of course, Rickon being Rickon is so honored that Mark actually read his book.
Yeah.
And then Rickon says, I was just looking at a picture of you, and I'm so sorry the way I acted after your, that you thought I looked down on you because you got severance. And it's like, who am I to say how people grieve for the loss of their wife? And he says, wait, I have a wife? He says, yes, I was in fact looking at a picture of us today. Would you like to see it? And it's just, and just as he's about to show, some random dude comes up and says, hey, your neti pot is ready. And I screamed,
because he's all clogged up.
Frick you. I screamed, I was like so mad. It's like, no, let him look at the dang picture.
Well, he ends up seeing the picture.
And then in the final moments of season 1,
this is where they decide to cut everything, and it's like, wow.
By the way, the cliffhangers in this thing are cruel, because they cut it right as the big moments are always about to happen. He finally sees a picture of him and Gemma together. He grabs it, goes into slow motion as he runs out, and he starts screaming, Devin! And just as he goes right up to her,
it's a slow motion run,
holding the picture, and says, she's alive!
And then
Milkshake tackles Dylan, thus turning off the overtime procedure. And that's the episode. Season ends.
And we have just enough time to see them all zoom back to their outies, and then it cuts.
That's the end of season 1.
Yeah. It has balls. It has major testicles for that, without a season 2 being announced. Again, I'm just saying, it's not like other shows haven't done that. It's not like other shows haven't done that. But it's very much like pulling a rubber band to the point of snapping, and then just cutting the rubber band. And then, it's so abrupt, but you actually don't, I don't know. That wasn't a good analogy. You just don't get enough of a release from that moment, but you get a release in the sense of it's over. But what's the cost? What's the repercussion?
It made it, and when I first saw it, I screamed out, frick you, Ben Stiller!
Frick you, Ben Stiller. What was the guy's name? The guy you accidentally did,
I've totally forgotten it.
It started with a B.
It's like Ben or Beth. I thought his name was Neff for some reason.
Yeah, I think it's something like Baff or Boff or something.
Oh, well, whatever. That guy is the true villain of the series.
Not Milchick, him.
Yeah.
Whoever,
Not Milchek, not Harmony, not Lumen.
whoever,
That guy right there.
Neti Pot Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, he screwed us all over there. Oh, okay. I don't know. Unless there was anything else you could really think of, I want to talk about season 2.
There's one more thing I thought of.
Okay, yes.
Kier, glorious Kier, chosen one Kier.
We should put this. I'm gonna take this sound clip and I'm gonna put it side by side with Patricia Arquette, and we're just gonna see the side by side comparison.
Yeah.
Or listen to the side by side comparison of that. Okay, so what repercussions are we left with for season 2? Do you think they'll pick up right where we left off?
They have to, like, what you know what I bet they'll do? They'll screw around a little bit at the opening just to really annoy you.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, but
they'll do last time on Severance, and they'll play that last, like all the high points of that really tense ending, and then they'll cut, and then it'll be like somebody going shopping, or somebody like,
I mean, that's what
in the department store or something.
That's 100% what Breaking Bad would do.
Yeah.
But I think we'll see. You know, the question is probably, you know, my thought process is probably now that Devin knows that Gemma is still alive.
Yeah.
Her and Mark will start plotting together to try and break into, like, see if like they can.
Yeah, because he did tell the only person who knows that, other than the other severed employees, was Devin. She was able to kind of realize that he had a moment to be free, or severed in the moment. So she knows that he's telling the truth.
She'll probably tell Rickon. I'm curious how Rickon is going to react knowing that he's kind of a prophet to the severed employees.
We're gonna need some major comic relief, and if we're not getting it with Dylan, we're gonna need more from Rickon.
Oh, by the way, the actor revealed, on Twitter, the actor revealed Rickon's backstory.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Do you want to hear it?
Yes, please.
So Rickon's parents were rich, rich trust fund kids who started experimental plays on theater, and Rickon was born as part of an art piece where they lived on stage for 9 months, and then he was born on stage. And he tried to write plays himself, but his parents were always dismissive of his literary accomplishments.
You know what? That gives him just enough of a dark backstory enough for me to give him that sympathy. That all that stuff he's pouring out in his book is so meaningful and so true, even though no wonder he's like the way he is. No wonder he's pretentious and a little kooky. He doesn't know any better.
Exactly.
Yeah. I feel for him. I feel for the guy.
Yeah. Anyways, what were we saying? So I really want to know what Rickon's like gonna react to, like, knowing that he's almost like this, he's a prophet, you know, a mystical figure down there. Like, will he desperately want to try and get onto the severed floor?
I think he's gonna see the severance program and the severed employees in a whole new light.
Yeah.
And I think he'll take himself. Maybe the pretentiousness might fade away, or I don't know. We'll see.
Or it may get even worse. Part of me is like, I know this is not the type of show that would do it, but it's you know, like, you can tell when a characters work really well, in that you can kind of imagine them in scenarios and it'd be amusing. Like, what if Rickon got severed?
Yeah.
Like, what would that be like? But definitely Devin is going to, like, because we didn't really talk about it, but briefly to explain, Devin has her own little side plot here. Devin meets a in the birthing center, she meets a rich woman who's also pregnant and gives birth, and then she re-meets the rich woman later, and the rich woman has no memory of her. And
Yeah.
we learned later that the rich woman is married to a state senator who is pro severance, and she has most likely been severed herself.
Yeah.
She was severed herself, so she doesn't have to experience childbirth,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
and
Because
and
she's rich and privileged enough, she
yeah,
can experience something like that.
yeah. And there's a thing to be said that you literally you force in her mind a lower class person to experience all the pain of childbirth with none of the benefits of it.
Yeah.
Because it's established she's had 3 kids, and I bet she's been severed the whole time. So
Possibly, yeah.
so that version of her has only ever experienced giving birth,
Yeah.
which is anyway. So
Yeah.
Devin has been investigating that, to the side, and it's probably now, a Scout and Devin's story is probably going to combine, and they're probably going to be focused on trying to see if they can get Gemma out from under there.
Yeah, for sure, because their past close friendships.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know why I feel like Rickon in the next season, if this is just a weird gut feeling, but he's pretentious and he's flowery and he's crunchy and he's weird, but he also is self-aware enough to be like, I suck and I know nobody's paying attention. And of course you didn't bring the book. Of course you didn't read it. Like, he's self-aware enough to know that. And now knowing his messed up backstory, he's got enough humility in him to be like, I'm not that much. But if he knew that he was a big deal with a bunch of severed employees, and he was like maybe a rallying cry behind this rebellion that's happening, maybe he'd take himself more seriously, but he would be less pretentious about it because people's lives would be on the line.
And it's
just a weird thought I had about it.
Maybe. I mean, I think what we're all saying is season 2 needs to forget all of this, like, the nature of corporate culture and what we do to ourselves, and just be mostly follow Rickon on a book tour. Forget everything else, and it should just be about Rickon. What does Rickon do?
Let's have Rickon have his glow up. Like, he needs his final, like, he needs to be recognized. And he needs to know that he's been recognized.
Definitely.
Also, by the way, weirdly enough, I want them to bring Rebecca back.
Yes.
Rebecca should come back. Doing
what?
She
was so great. She was so Rebecca.
Very minor character, but very good.
She's, if you see little sores in the back of my head, that's because my bird kept pecking me.
Did she say that, or did you just make that up?
No, that's what she said. And she
said, I didn't remember that one.
Wow, that's so amazing. I guess I'm gonna have to change my name again.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Such a great, like, I kind of love how, like, weird all of Rickon's pretentious weird all of Rickon's friends are.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Oh, and where we left Irving. Heartbreaking.
Oh, right. Like, because it turns out, well, Bert has somebody already in his
life.
Bert
already has what we're assuming is we'll just say a significant other. We don't know that they're married or whatever. They are together, and he is enjoying his, how can you really enjoy your retirement if you've just been severed this whole, well, you have more time with your significant other now. You're conscious more of the time. He is very much just enjoying his life with his man, and Irving had finally got up the gumption to go find him, knows where he lives on the outside. You'd think this is all good because he was so upset over him being leaving the company, retiring. And
now he knows that it's just not going to happen.
We're just slowly seeing the deconstruction of Irving and just all the heartbreaking steps. Though it's not that there's no love that Bert definitely has love for Irving, but will he remember him?
Bert G does, but not Bert. Who knows about Bert Goodman? I will say, just of a minor note of this, I thought it was really. I was so convinced the first time I watched this episode that because I knew we were going to see his partner like on that shot because I was like, oh, he's going to have somebody in his life, and I was convinced for a hot minute that it was going to be a woman to come out.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I do like how charming it is that no, it's a dude. It's not that cliche.
No, I mean, it's definitely, I love the way they did it though.
Yeah.
Because so many people will kind of like either be too pushy about it or tiptoe around it because people are pushing for more representation of LGBT, and it's good.
I will say that is a good thing, but it's also a thing that people fuck up a lot.
Yes. Yeah. And what I'm saying is Severance is doing a great job.
Yeah. It's so matter of fact. And the fact that, one of the things that I really like is how good the casting is in the show. And I think Bert and Irving fit so well together as casting.
Yeah.
They're people that you say like, yeah, this makes sense as a couple. I can see why they would be attracted to each other.
Yeah.
Because they have similar interests, similar ideas, and, have complementary personalities.
Yeah. Okay. Little quick theory for season 2. Obviously, he was just banging on Bert's door.
Yeah.
Screaming his name, even though he knows he's with his significant other.
Yeah.
They're going to come into contact with one another. And he has now been severed again.
Yeah.
He is now back to being Irving Bailiff. Yeah. He's either going to be like asking questions about, I don't know. Yeah. He's going to be asking questions about Lumen. He's going to learn that he recently retired or something. I don't know. But at the same time, yeah. Okay. My mind had to catch up with me there. I wasn't sure where I was going with that.
No. Not to interrupt you. I just want to give I don't know if we gave a little context to this, but we found out that Irvin's Audi has been keeping track of different Severed employees.
Yeah.
And it's had a map. Had a map listed out already with Birchie's address on it. Mm-hmm. And I want to posit one theory here, and this is 100% serious, and I'm not making a joke here. We find out that it's a Lumen map, and what if that's all Lumen does is make roadside maps?
I would imagine that their competitors.
No, I'm kidding.
Having trucks, I don't see how that comes together, but I wouldn't be surprised if they make a bunch of things, including road maps.
No, I'm kidding, but I thought it would be so funny if it's like this huge multinational corporation, and all they do is produce maps.
The things that people use so much these days.
Yeah, but like old car maps, GPS, just like map booklets. Yes, we're an international corporation that produces map books.
The reason
really
okay. Another quick thing, and this completely goes back to theories about Irving's Audi, because he's gonna get switched over basically at Bert's front door. We're gonna start to learn more about his Audi.
Oh, definitely.
And it's funny because I noticed that there was a lot of signs that he was a veteran. I didn't know his father being from the Navy, in the Navy, was revealed later. There's no way I could have known that. But the dog being named Radar, kind of the, I don't know why, but just the housing. I remember, because we watched this over Discord and we were trying to like get our players like timed up at the same moments. I was paused on this one frame of where Irving lives for a long time, Leonora Lake. It just feels like a veteran facility. It just feels like housing that would be perfect for that. And he had just the way he was very to the letter when it came to like handbook stuff, other than just being like very very dedicated, but he had a lot of different things that brought out like, oh, he knows about this kind of strategy, or he knows about this like running a I don't know. I'm going to use all the wrong words. I don't have the right words at me right now,
Yeah.
but like he was showing signs of, oh, of course he was in the military. He
Yeah,
knows
yeah,
about
yeah.
these maps and how to plan this strategy of, he was like that. And it would make sense that his Audi has ways of effectively getting intel together and mapping out all this stuff. And
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. What was I going to say? That was a theory.
Well, you told me you
I
guessed.
missed. Yeah.
Yeah, you told me that you had already guessed that he was in the military,
Yeah.
pretty much.
What was
Like that.
what was I going to say? Maybe that's one of the reasons the rebellion was such a big deal. If
Yeah,
O&D put the rebellion
Mhm.
together and they had someone like Irving on their side originally,
Yeah.
they had to really
Yeah.
really reboot that guy. Really
Oh, yeah.
wipe him because
Yeah,
he had
exactly.
some
To goldfish.
really latent
Uh,
trauma built into
Yeah.
him from the war, and he's
Exactly.
using his own
Training.
training for his
Yeah.
to his advantage.
Yeah, like one of the things that was interesting, we actually see a painting that theoretically may be from the rebellion.
Yeah,
And it's pretty terrifying,
it
there's
is.
there's cannibalism and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Although one of the interesting twists is that macro data is told that it's O&D, and O&D was told that macro data started it.
yeah.
So
It's
and
so discord between not discord, but distrust between the departments to keep them from
and
banding together.
one thing I noticed. So remember that Dylan says that initially O&D lies about how many people work there.
Yeah,
They say it's 2, and then we find out later that it's 6.
yeah.
And before we learn that, Dylan says that the reason O&D only has 2 is because they were reduced because of the rebellion. What if all the departments are supposed to have 6 people? What if it was macro data that was the one that was reduced? Right?
Yeah. Also, okay, riddle me this. Why was Helly being
Batman.
Helena Egan?
Yeah.
Why was she put into macro data?
I don't know. Possibly.
She could have been put anywhere. They maybe put her in a place where.
Well, possibly because maybe macro data, because the third department we get a hint of is one that raises baby goats, and maybe slowly but maybe because my pet theory is that Irving was part of O&D and was most likely was part of the rebellion that happened.
Yeah.
Because Irving has artistic skills.
Yeah.
And that's O&D's whole job. So maybe it's like they assess you of what you would be best at.
Yeah.
But maybe because she was an Egan, because the more we learn about the different departments, the more disturbing they get.
Yeah.
So there's a possibility that that's the nicest department that you can work for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And by the way, season 2, definitely we're going to see more departments, right?
We have to get more departments that either flesh out
what's going on.
Here's the thing. I think when it comes to this show, I might see it going for like maybe 3 seasons safely before it starts to, I don't see this show hopefully not becoming, sticking around too long to the point where it makes no sense. But
well, one of the things they compare it to is Lost a lot. And the thing about Lost is Lost got really bad because of that.
Yeah. So I think it would be safe if they went for like 3 seasons and they kind of did the like starting to really build the world more and shape how Severance works on all facets and all sides. And then they give like this big reveal as to what Lumen's really trying to do. Perhaps they're trying to bring Kier back to life. Perhaps they're trying to take over the world, whatever. And then the 3rd season is all about
destroying it. Yeah.
the climax of taking care of all that.
I will say, like, they were talking a little bit about Ben Stiller's story contributions, and one of the things I know that he did was he insisted that season 1 should end on this cliffhanger.
Yeah.
And the plan was initially that each season would be kind of separate from each other.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So possibly they have an idea after this arc of a totally new arc. I mean, theoretically, not to say that these characters aren't great, but theoretically, I could also see this being turned into sort of an anthology show.
True.
Where like I could see this being turned into an anthology show where we meet like different Lumen employees going through different things, and we get a full like category. And like, I'm actually curious that the Lexington letter implies that possibly Lumen is not the only people doing Severance.
Wait, where did it say that?
Well, maybe this is just me kind of making a few jumps, but it's curious to me that they have a competitor they're so intense against.
Yeah.
Because I had a thought process that what if it's not just Lumen that's trying to do Severance? What if there's another corporation that's also playing in brain games like this?
Possibly, but at this point, I would actually love to see if they did more of like outside world controversy around Severance in season 2, because we only got a small taste of it with like the teenagers in the town.
Yeah.
If they went more like, maybe we go to Topeka or something, and there's nods to the Lexington letter. Yeah, perhaps. Well, maybe, dude, they could introduce the reporter.
Yeah.
Diana.
I will say,
or Diane.
Yeah. I will say that there is an interesting little plot point that they left off that I'm curious about.
Yeah.
Do you remember in like the very first episode where we learned that there was an employee that was impregnated while she was severed?
Yeah, they were talking about it on the news.
Yeah.
We can tell that there's a bigger controversy. Yeah, the bigger controversy.
And I'm curious what that was. Because I think she's implied to have worked there. Because remember, they say like they had another employee that left.
Yeah.
And I think she's implied to be working there.
Yeah. Ooh,
so
they could do the same town, but it could be separate departments.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah. So I could see theoretically, like, not that I don't
just
really
been
like
from the severed floor.
Yeah. And yeah, that's my big fear with this show, is that they'll drag it on too long and then they'll just kind of get ridiculous.
I hope not.
But for right now, I'm enjoying the ride. And I know and I'm confident after reading the Lexington letter that they have a grant. They're not going to fall into Lost's greatest mistake, which was not planning it out beforehand.
It's very much feeling like they have a game plan. Yeah. And because they're very deliberately withholding information. It's a very character driven and slow drip of information, which usually is a sign that they have a plan.
Yeah. And I mean, like,
maybe not an entire plan, but a plan.
Yeah. It's not like, it's weird. Who would have believed that, I mean, J.J. Abrams' tendency for not planning things through, but leaving obsessive mystery boxes. Yeah. I wonder if that would bite him in any other major project he worked on.
Yeah.
Can't think of one. Anyways. Yeah. No, it's freaking fantastic. Just, is there anything else? I think we really
covered the really deep stuff.
I'll say, like, I had so much fun doing this with you, Funk.
Oh, thanks. I think this is just the start of a wonderful camaraderie with as writers and friends, and I really did enjoy this as well. Thank you for putting me onto this show, because I'm one of those weirdos that would have never heard of it.
I mean, I like, the whole story with this is, like, on the stream I just couldn't stop talking about it, and I kept like asking, have you seen it, because I had just watched the episode where they reveal Mark who Gemma is. and I just couldn't stop talking about it, and
Yeah.
like nobody had seen it. Yeah, no, I mean, I even broached the subject that maybe we could, like, when season 2 comes, we could recap it week by week.
Yeah. I'd be
Yeah.
down for that.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed that we get a season 2
I mean,
in
I believe
at
they
least the near future, maybe not
Yeah.
a year from now, but maybe a year
Yeah.
and a half, maybe
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
Could be really good.
And maybe one of these days, yeah, I'd like to come on again.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. By the way, I don't plan on just having TV shows or serial episodic things be the only thing we talk about. We could do film. If there's a book, perhaps, if there's some great maybe comics that are coming out. Anything
Oh my God.
like,
oh my God, Funk.
Yeah.
You don't know who you're talking to. Ooh, which one? I mean, there's the most famous, most likely read a graphic novel of some sort.
Yeah.
I mean, they're longer, but they're usually individual stories. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, do I dare suggest that we maybe take on the most famous graphic novel of all time? Watchmen?
Yeah, we could do that.
Okay, you're in for a ride on that one.
All right. Could I also, just because we were talking about it a bit before, could we also, if you wanted to do something maybe a little sooner, could we do that movie with we were just talking about it, the one that's coming out, Everywhere, Anywhere, at all times, or whatever it is?
Yeah. That would,
because that's a film, and it
I haven't seen that yet. Because the guy who played Short Round from Indiana Jones, he's in that, and I was reading about his whole thing. Yeah, I'd love to. I really want to see that.
Yeah, I could see something, because we watched Severance. I binged Severance, by the way.
Yeah.
Something that is maybe, I love long episodic things because I love really getting into character the way that you can with these shows. But just for time's sake, if we could pick maybe shorter things, just to start, and then would be like, okay, here's the plan. We're gonna go through, this next and that, and there's, not like Severance is a huge
no, it's only 9
commitment. It's 9 episodes. But yeah,
no, I'd love to. I'm up for that.
Cool.
Yeah. Should we call it here?
Yeah, I feel like we've pretty much discussed everything we were going to. And thank you so much, by the way. Thank you on so many levels. But also for just helping me out with my small little program here on Brain Velcro.
No,
and
I was happy to do it.
Yeah. We did talk about anything and everything. And yes, I don't know. I don't have a sign off other than just saying thanks. And there's going to be some more episodes coming up soon. The last Attack on Titan episode is going to be out hopefully this weekend. Hopefully, fingers crossed. And then some announcements on what's coming up next. Show wise. Yes. And check out Bigfoot Bjornson.
Yeah. At Twitch and at TikTok.
On Twitch and TikTok and Twitter, especially if you have your own fun theories about Severance season 2.
I will chat with them about hours.
Yes.
And on YouTube. I have a YouTube that I upload my streams to.
All you have to do is type in Severance and he'll pop up.
Probably.
I know. It happened to me today. I'm like, oh, there he is. Yeah. You popped right up.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And just remember, praise Kier.
Praise Kier, the wonderful, the chosen one, the glorious.
Glorious.
I know the way to send this one off.
Yeah.
We'll see you next time, but until then, what's for dinner?
Yeah. I love it.